Afternoon, everyone. You're
Good
welcome
afternoon,
to,
sir. Good afternoon, sir.
yeah, good
Good afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon. You're welcome to May
Good afternoon.
2026. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So you're welcome to May 2026 Pre-Scene Analysis class. This is what we have been waiting for. And today we're going to be doing justice to the pre-scene that we have. I've tried over the course of the 3-month lectures to prepare you for this moment. And now we're here. And today, we're going to be analyzing this pre-scene. We are going to be training you on how to make judgments. We're going to look at the content of what they have given us. We're going to use the content of what they have given us to see if we can project and make some predictions on how the unseen is going to look at. But what you're going to be getting from me today is a complete analysis of this pre-scene, and also you're also going to be getting an unseen, from how they have been asking the unseen in previous diets. I'll be giving you one. However, with the way this diet is structured, there are different variations. There are different ways in which the unseen will go from what I've reviewed. And that is why I'm going to be having two classes with you today and also next Sunday. Just that the next Sunday is going to be very short because I'm only going to be looking at just a section of the report, but I will have done the major work today. So the next Sunday is going to be looking at another
Yeah, you have to
variation
call our phone.
that would focus on just
She's only in the room. She does not.
that will focus on just a specific area, right? So at the end of the day, you're also going to be having a report, as I've always done. So you will have the unseen, and I'll also give you a report. It looks as if, yes, we are spoon feeding you. We are trying to override the purpose of this course, which is for you to be able to exercise your professional judgment, for you to display what you've learned over time in a lot of these courses, especially in strategic business reporting, in strategic financial management, and a lot of other courses as it were. This case study gives you opportunity to display that knowledge. So giving you all of this looks as if we are giving you too much, but we are not. In the sense that what you would get is only a direction. The figures you would have will be different from what you're going to have in the exam. And the requirements might be a little
Okay.
different, but you would surely see certain level of similarities at the end of the day. So let's get to it immediately. And before we get to it, make sure that you're muted so that you are not distracting our class. Let's have good quality 3 hours class. Then we know that we have done what we are supposed to do. So you're welcome again. Now, the first part of this question is that, when you get to the exam, it's going to be a 4 hours exam, including reading time. So they will give you reading time of 1 hour for planning and reading. The remaining 3 hours, I've already explained to you how that will be used. 1 hour of it will be used for your calculations. Then the remaining 2 hours will be used for your report, right? So let's look at what this person is talking about. Now here, they are telling you that this person is just for you to familiarize yourself with the case and also undertake research into the company in question. And don't take this person into the exam hall because it's not allowed. They will give you another one in the all. So they will give you a complete scenario in the all, including this pre-scene and another on-scene. As we have reiterated severally, that this course, what it entails is your ability to assimilate and use the information in the case scenario. That alone gives you 20%. Your ability to play around with the information given to you, use your judgment to recall cases in exhibits, then advise that, okay, on the basis of these exhibits, on the basis of this problem, this is what I think we should do. Then structuring problems and solutions. Your ability to identify problems in exhibits and offer solutions, it goes a long way. And your solution will be based on your appendices, the calculation and analysis you would have done there. I mean, that's another 20%. And ultimately, you'll be applying a lot of judgments. We don't expect everybody to have the same answer. We expect different levels of answers in the exam. I mean, go there, apply. When I say apply your judgment, it means with the analysis and calculation you're going to have done in your appendix, you then be able to use that in the body of your report to prefer solution to the problems or to the strategic direction that the entity wants to take. That's applying judgment, right? And in every of your analysis, we expect to see conclusions and recommendations. And ultimately, your ability to do that depends greatly on your integrative and multidisciplinary skills, your knowledge of SBL ratios, your knowledge of accounting standards in some cases, and also your ability to calculate NPV, your ability to do IRR, and all that will be necessary at this point in time. And also appendices goes a long way. And like I've said severally, executive summary is so important, it's 20%. Ethics is 10%. Even if they don't specifically ask you to speak to ethics, you have to speak to it in the exam because you need to be able to identify areas where there is lack of professional independence, objectivity, conflict of interest, doubtful accounting practices, unethical business practice, and inappropriate pressure to achieve reported results. You need to be able to spot all of that in a case scenario. Okay. Now, this precinct has 5 exhibits. One is about you. Now you are Tokunbo Adeolu. Your employer is Galba Chukwuemeka Adelani and Co. Exhibit 2 talks about the cocoa business in Nigeria, from the golden era to challenges and revival. Exhibit 3, this talks about cocoa processing industry in Nigeria. Exhibit 4 then talks about the company in case, with Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited. Talks about the overview, management structure challenges, and strategic direction. And Exhibit 5 talks about Sadeco Cocoa Processing. So they gave us their financial statements from 2022 to 2023. So let's quickly go over these exhibits. I won't spend too much time on the exhibit. So now Exhibit 1, this is the same thing every day. It talks about you and what you do. So let's just quickly go over it. So you are Tokunbo Adeolu, accounting graduate, writing professional level of Ican exam, and you're employed as a trainee in the firm of Galba Chukwuemeka Adelani and Co., reporting directly to Thomas Chukwuemeka, a partner in the firm. Your position requires a proactive approach to client service and technical competence in accounting, financial analysis, and business advisory. Your key responsibilities are preparation of financial analysis and reports. So your tasked with preparing detailed financial analysis and reports regarding the performance of the firm's clients. This involves gathering relevant data, performing rigorous analysis, and presenting findings in clear, structured report to facilitate informed decision making. Also, it talks about Analysis of financial statements. So your role includes analyzing client financial statements to identify areas of weakness. Upon identifying these anomalies, develop and recommend likely solution aimed at correcting deficiency and improving financial health. 3, assessing of business proposals. You have to assess various operational and strategic business proposals, evaluating how each aligns with the client objectives. Additionally, you have to consider the impact of this proposal on the client business and financial risk to ensure recommendations are both practical and strategic. Next, evaluation of forecasts and assumptions. You are also to examine client financial and business forecasts, scrutinizing the assumptions upon which they are based. This is to enable you perform well-grounded judgments, draw reasoned conclusions, and make relevant recommendations tailored to the client's context. Strategic planning and advice. You're responsible for providing advice on strategic tax planning, guiding clients towards approaches that result in optimal tax liabilities and compliance with relevant regulations. Drafting analytical report based on your potential operational and strategic business analysis. Draft comprehensive report for your partners review, ensuring that findings and recommendations are clearly communicated and actionable. And to effectively fulfill this responsibility, you have to keep abreast of developments in the accounting and taxation sector, as well as matters relating to business sustainability, both on national and international scale. This commitment to ongoing learning ensures that your work reflects current best practices, support the firm's clients in achieving their objectives. Okay, this is the same thing that we read every day is there, right? And I mean, this exhibit clearly shows you what you're going to be doing basically in the exam. This is what they would ask, even though they might not ask everything, but there are some that is there every day, right? Like analyzing financial statements, like drafting analytical reports, like evaluating forecasts and assumptions, and all that. So that's the bit about exhibit 1. Now the exhibit 2, this talks about the cocoa business in Nigeria from the golden era to challenges and revival. So we're looking at an historical context from 1960 to present. So you see, it said Nigerian cocoa industry has witnessed dramatic changes over the decades. Once a leader on the global stage, the sector has faced considerable hurdles, but is now showing signs of resurgence. This section explores the historical trajectory, challenges, and recent revival efforts shaping the cocoa business in Nigeria. Okay. The golden era, 1960 to 80, 2 decades, dominance and national pride. During the period from 1960 to 1980, Nigerian cocoa's production thrived. It was placing the country among the world's leading cocoa producers, comparable with Ghana and Ivory Coast. Several key features characterized this era of prosperity. We had booming production. Cocoa output soared, underpinning Nigerian status as a major exporter and a critical earner of foreign exchange. The revenues from cocoa export supported vital national development projects. Government support. The Western region government, where cocoa farming was concentrated, played a significant role in promoting the crop. Support included agricultural extension services, subsidies for input, and investment in research. Marketing boards. The creation of the Nigerian Cocoa Marketing Board was aimed to stabilize prices, enhance quality, and guarantee fair returns for farmers. Smallholders dominance. Smallholders farmers form the backbone of the industry, providing livelihood for millions and ensuring the widespread adoption of cocoa cultivation. Research and development. Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria made notable contributions by developing improved varieties and farming techniques, leading to higher yield and better quality beans. Several factors contributed to the sector's success during this period, including the very favorable climate and soils of the southwest rainforest belt, well-established farming traditions, supportive government policies, and robust global demand for cocoa. Okay, So, I mean, it was an interesting era, right? And we hear about it. This current government is trying to revive and trying to go back to this period. I mean, we hear about Cocoa House in Ibadan, the first multiple story building in Nigeria. It was built with cocoa money. And these are things we Nigerians can really relate to. The practical, it was our major source of earning. Government supported those era. Smallholders, farmers were the backbone of those industry then. They were marketing board. People were not allowed. The market was not fixing the price. The government ensures that prices were stable. They did a lot at that point in time. And impressive of all is research and development. They invested in research. They had a research institute, specifically in Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria. These were the features of this era, where we were the pride of the nation and Africa at this point in time. But now, era of decline, 80 to 2000, right? I mean, the time where most of us here were born. Now, between 1980 and 2000, Nigeria's cocoa industry suffered a marked, like a downturn due to a combination of adverse factors, such as oil boom. The focus of government policy shifted towards the oil sector, leading to decline in investment and interest in agriculture, including cocoa. There was a collapse of the marketing board. The dissolution of the Nigerian Cocoa Marketing Board as part of structural adjustment program, I mean, that was Babangida then, exposed farmers to unstable prices and uncertain market. Aging tree stocks. Many cocoa trees planted decades earlier experienced declining yields with limited efforts made to replant or rejuvenate farms. Pests and disease outbreaks. Problems such as black pod disease and pest infestations devastated yields. Lack of access to inputs. Farmers found it increasingly difficult to obtain affordable and reliable fertilizers, pesticides, and other inputs. Rural-urban migration. The migration of young people to urban areas in search of better opportunities resulted in a shortage of labor in cocoa farms. Political instability. I mean, those areas were marked by a series of government takeovers from one military era to another, right? So inconsistent policies and political uncertainty further undermine the sector's stability. The consequences of this decline were dramatic. Export earnings from cocoa fell. Many farmers were plunged into poverty. Jobs were lost in related industries. Nigeria lost its status as a world-leading cocoa producer. I mean, very sad period. Guys, these are data. These are data for you that you are going to be speaking to depending on the direction of the unseen. These are period. We can see the problems here. We discovered oil. I mean, not so much of a problem, but it was rather a shift of focus, right? Also, SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, of course, we were advised by IMF and World Bank that we should, is similar to what this government is doing, but I mean, maybe these ones will get it right, where they wanted a market-driven market. Like they want a market-driven environment, like let the market determine prices. And that's similar to what SAP was all about, which was why they collapsed the marketing board, because marketing board were stabilizing prices. They were ensuring that the prices of inputs were not too expensive and all that. They collapsed it. They allowed the market to determine all of that. And they were not replanting trees. They didn't have problems or solutions to diseases that was affecting their yields. A whole lot. And that was the era of how will I call it? Financialization. That was the era where most of these banks you're seeing today got licenses. Babangida gave a lot of them license then. The Jim Ovia of this world, the GT Bank, most of these banks, I mean, they started at that point in time, right? And a lot of people were moving to white collar job, leaving farms. And that affected um, availability of labor in that subsector, in that agricultural industry. So rural urban migration negatively impacted that sector and political instability. So all of these are also things we can relate to as Nigerians because we can feel it. Now, what's happening now? 2000 to present. 2000 to present. Most of us, very few of us might not be aware of this period, but most of us are aware. And what's happening in this era is striving for survival. Striving for survival. So recent years have brought a renewed focus on reviewing the cocoa sector, recognizing its economic potential. A variety of initiatives such as the following have been launched, government initiatives. So programs have been introduced to support farmers by distributing improved seedling, providing subsidized input, rehabilitating old farms, and investing in research and development. They have been trying to do that, no doubt. Private sector involvement. Private companies are playing a greater role, offering finance, building processing plants, providing technical training for farmers. Yes. International collaborations. Organizations such as the World Bank and International Cocoa Organization are supplying technical and financial assistance. Focus on sustainable practices. So there is an increasing emphasis in agroforestry, integrated pest management, and fair labor standards to make cocoa farming more sustainable. Value addition. The sector is shifting towards more domestic processing of cocoa beans, aiming to produce cocoa butter, powder, and other products, thereby increasing export earnings and job opportunities. That's all. Despite these efforts, challenges remain. Farmers and processors still struggle with limited access to finance, poor infrastructure, inadequate extension services, unclear land tenure arrangements, climate change, weak farmer cooperatives. Okay, these are clear issues that we need to think about, that we need to understand from the perspective of this industry, that these are efforts that are being introduced by government. So for us, is for us to have this data that yes, they are doing this, but which works, which does not work, how can an organization position itself to take advantage of some of these opportunities? We see Buhari government in those days with anchor borrowers program, or even though it didn't go far because of how it was handled, it was the CBN that was handling that. Why would the CBN be handling fiscal? The job is not fiscal. So they didn't handle it well. So government initiatives, right? Private sector involvement, international collaborations, focus on sustainable practices. So these are data that ultimately we will use to advise our clients on how to move, on how to practice, on how to be sustainable as an organization, on how to probably look for an organization to collaborate with internationally if they need equipment, right? How to be involved. Also, value addition. You see, this sector is shifting towards domestic processing. If you're not processing today, okay, can we move into that sector? Because that's what's happening right now. These are the solutions, right? That we can pick which of them is best relevant, depending on the situation of the unseen that we're going to have very soon. But challenges remain: access to finance, poor infrastructure, inadequate extension services, right? Unclear land tenure arrangement, climate change, weak farmer cooperatives. These are practical problems that can hinder any effort. So with these problems, we still need to navigate to success. Our responsibility as professionals is to advise on how they will navigate and meet these challenges and be successful. We have to look at all that today. So, what's then the prospect and opportunities for cocoa in Nigeria, the future of cocoa in Nigeria? Let's look at it. He says Nigeria possesses several advantages that could help restore its status as a major cocoa producer. The country benefits from favorable agroecological conditions, an abundance of arable lands, and rising demand for cocoa products, both at home and abroad. Key opportunities for growth includes adopting modern farming techniques, expanding value-added processing, strengthening farmer cooperatives, promoting sustainable. I mean, they keep saying this. You're definitely going to have to write about sustainable practices in your exam. Attracting foreign investment, exploring new export markets, and improving infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. There is no doubt that your exam will probably be looking at partnership with an international company so that we can develop our processing equipment in our local environment so that we can export. Those are likely things that would happen in the light of what the direction Nigeria is going as a nation. Now, speaking of the nation also, I mean, you cannot operate at a micro level without taking into consideration what is happening at the micro, at the macro. It will definitely affect you as an organization. So ultimately, we know that the unseen would be focused on micro, on an organization, on how they should move. And you are responsible for advising them on how they implement and how they become successful. You cannot do that in isolation without taking into consideration what is happening at the macro. So these are key opportunities for growth open to us as a nation, adopting modern farming techniques, expanding into value-added processing. I mean, rather than exporting beans, you know what beans are? I mean, when they harvest cocoa, they will process it, they will allow it to dry. That's beans. That's what they export. We lose a lot of value-added processing, even though at the micro level you benefit minimally. But how much do they sell that compared to if it's well processed into other products? Strengthening farmers' cooperatives, promoting sustainable practices. How do you reuse and reuse and reuse some materials that you have already used without messing up with the environment? How do you ensure that you replant trees so that you will not go out of seedlings? How do you ensure that you do not negatively impact the environment, even if you have a processing facility? You have to operate sustainably so that future generations can also continue the cocoa business. Attracting foreign investments. I mean, this is a chain of events. Like if you have value-added processing, then you can export, then you can attract foreign investment, or you can partner with foreign investors so that they can bring in foreign cash flow so that you can use that to grow at your micro level, exploring new export markets, improving infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. So what's then happening? All in all, the cocoa business in Nigeria has undergone substantial transformation since 1960. From a position of global dominance to industry suffered decline due to neglect and unfavorable policies. Today, new efforts are being made to revitalize the sector By confronting ongoing challenges, seizing emerging opportunities, and enacting sound policies, Nigeria can reestablish itself as a leading force in the world cocoa market. The road to success lies in the sustained commitment and collaboration of all stakeholders, government, farmers, private sector, international partners, to ensure the long-term sustainability and prosperity of the country's cocoa business. Okay, so to a large extent, these are data, right? This is not what you find in the exam per se, but we can know as an organization what we need to do to ensure that we tap into the progress of the country if at all we make progress in this industry. Look at the conclusions here. From here, we can have an idea of what your unseen is going to be. Look at it from the last paragraph. It says the road to success lies in the sustained commitment and collaboration of all stakeholders, governments, farmers, private sector, and international partners to ensure long-term sustainability and prosperity of the country's cocoa industry. So really, there's no doubt that the examiner might want to explore in the unseen a scenario where your company would have to partner with a foreign firm to bring in money, to bring in machinery, to bring in technical expertise. And you would be in the position to analyze that proposal and advise your client whether they should go ahead with it or not. Most likely. Now, that's at the macro level. Now, let's narrow down to this company. First, let's look at the industry. Cocoa processing industry in Nigeria. So Nigeria once a prominent player in the global cocoa market, has experienced significant fluctuations in its cocoa industry over the years. While the nation remains significant producer of raw cocoa beans, its cocoa processing sector has not developed at the same pace, limiting Nigeria's ability to fully benefit from its abundant cocoa resources, as you can see. Now, overview of the Nigerian cocoa industry, historical context. In the 1960s, Nigeria was among the world leading cocoa exporters, with export income from the products making a substantial contribution to the national economy. However, several factors led to the decline of the sector, including the oil boom, aging cocoa farms, neglect of government agricultural policy, and volatility in the cocoa prices. We have seen this before. Yes, we know that has been a problem from the previous exhibits that we have read here today. Now, what's happening now? Presently, Nigeria is the fourth largest cocoa producer in Africa, following Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Cameroon. Cocoa production is primarily concentrated in the southwestern states, notably Ondo, Osun, Oyo, Ogun, and Ekiti. We are fourth largest. We used to be number one globally. What's the volume we're doing? Cocoa annual production of cocoa beans. The country's annual production of cocoa beans typically fluctuates between 250,000 and 350,000 metric tons. These other guys are doing millions of metric tons. Export orientation. A large share of Nigeria's cocoa output is exported as raw beans. Raw beans, with only a smaller proportion processed locally. So all they just do is dry it and send it. Dry it and send. They do nothing to it. The Nigerian cocoa processing industry detailed assessment. So size and capacity. The cocoa processing sector in Nigeria is relatively small compared to other major cocoa producing nations, although there's a significant installed processing capacity. Much of it remains underutilized. Most processors operate below capacity due to factors such as limited availability of beans because they're exporting everything. Yes, so there's nothing left for local processors. Financial constraint, interest rate is too high. So how will they get access? Banks don't even want to give money to farmers. And outdated equipment, the industry is primarily dominated by a few large scale processors with several smaller participants also present. The problem is clear. It's clear, yeah, because there's no way forward to somebody that does not have money to move into this industry. And we know that the big cake, the big pie is waiting in the processing subsector, the cocoa processing sector. That's where it is. But unfortunately, the processing capacity is there, but we can't utilize it. There's no availability of beans. There is financial commitment. We can't access funds. Equipment outdated. We can't go to banks. So we definitely need investors, majorly foreign investors. And that's the clout in the nation as of today. Nigeria is clouting for both FDI, foreign direct investments, foreign portfolio investments. That's what we need today. And that's exactly what the examiner would ask you. You need to be able to assess that as a student that is going to be qualified, because that's what we need you to start doing in the industry when you get there. With the reforms happening in Nigeria today, we are expecting FDIs. We are getting our house together. We as professionals has to be ready to assess them and know whether they are viable or not. I can tell you for free. So, technology and infrastructure. Many cocoa processing plants in Nigeria rely on outdated technology, resulting in operational inefficiencies and increased production costs. The sector faces inadequate infrastructure, including unreliable electricity supply, poor transportation networks, and limited access to modern storage facilities. Access to dependable water resources, which is essential for processing, is not even always assured. It's a major problem. The product range and quality. The main products resulting from domestic cocoa processing are cocoa liquor, cocoa butter, cocoa powder. The quality of this processed product varies. While some processors meet international standards, others struggle with inconsistency. There's also a limited range of value-added products beyond these ones, but these are the major ones in the domestic market. That's what they do in Nigeria. That's those that are processing. They do cocoa liquor, cocoa butter, cocoa powder. The ones that export, they even reject their product. From what I can see here, they said, why some processors meet international standards, others struggle with inconsistency. They reject their product. Market and distribution. So within Nigeria, the domestic market for processed cocoa products remain relatively small, restricting the growth potential of the processing industry. Export markets include Europe, Asia, North America, but Nigerian processed cocoa faces intense competition from established processors in other countries. Distributions within Nigeria and for export is further hampered by inadequate transportation and logistics infrastructure. We can't even distribute, even locally. Even locally. What we are processing is small. We can't grow. Where we can export is big. There's Europe, there's Asia, but I mean, the market is there. The Nigerian processed, the small domestic processors in Nigeria are faced with serious competition from established processors in other countries. So we cannot even compete, becomes a problem. We cannot even distribute within Nigeria. It's an issue. These are valid data that we need, to solve, advise on how we're going to navigate through them. And this is dependent on the ability to have access to investments, preferably foreign investment. Regulatory and policy environment. While government policy exists to promote the cocoa industry, the implementation has often been inconsistent and ineffective. Enforcement of quality standards and regulations is weak, and processors have limited access to financing and incentives. This cannot be overemphasized. Yes, there are government policies, but implementation, very ineffective. Very, very ineffective. They don't check quality. They are not regulating anything. Interest rate is high. These guys cannot have access to funds. Incentives? None. None. It's a major issue till today. You need to be able to speak to this as a student. I mean, you should be able to even write the government and ask them. They can ask you that. You should be able to speak for this industry. You need to understand this industry to the extent of knowing what their problem is, knowing exactly what incentives they need. Using all the data we have here, they can ask you to do that as a first requirement in this exam. And it makes sense. Even if they don't ask it, your ability to think about that would definitely help you in making your judgment in any question they want to ask you in the exam. It's something we are going to speak to today. Now, financing and investment. Access to affordable financing remains a major challenge for cocoa processors. Yes, commercial banks frequently hesitant to lend to the sector, perceiving it as high risk due to insufficient collateral. There's also limited FDI in Nigeria cocoa processing industry. I mean that is what the exam is going to be about. FDI. There is limited FDI. So how do we get this? Now, SWOT. I mean, we have gone beyond where you would think that you just be presenting SWOTs in the exam. Don't go and start writing. I mean, I didn't even teach you in that manner myself because they will give you most of these things in the exam. You're not supposed to start reiterating it again, except in specific context. Anyways, so now strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. These are things that we have read already. So of this industry, these are the strengths. Abundant and relatively consistent supply of cocoa beans. Yes, it's plenty. We have it. Favorable climate and soil conditions for cocoa cultivation. Yes. Long-standing expertise among cocoa farmers developed over generations. Yes, the strength. Potential to meet growing global demand for organic. Yes, we can. We are good at exporting organic cocoa beans. We cannot process anything. That's the challenge we have. Weaknesses, underdeveloped processing capacity relative to production levels. That's a problem, a weakness. Reliance on outdated technology and if inefficient equipment, major problem. Poor electricity, transport, and storage infrastructure, problem. Inconsistent quality control for processed cocoa products, problem. Regulators are not regulating anything. They are not, I mean, no quality assurance, no quality control. The agency will be there, but they won't work. Restricted access to affordable financing. Yes, problem. Ineffective regulatory framework. Yes. And enforcement of standard. Yes. Weakness. So opportunities, rising global demand for cocoa, particularly in emerging markets, potential to increase exports of processed cocoa instead of raw beans like we do in Nigeria. Possible increase in government support and incentive for processing. I mean, these are you're unseen. Can you, before you leave here today, you need to be able to speak for this industry. You need to be able to know what points you're going to itemize to ask for government support and the incentives that they need in the processing subsector of this cocoa industry. Opportunities to expand exports to neighboring African countries through regional trade agreements. Chance to attract both foreign and direct investments to modernize and expand the sector. Development of specialty cocoa and chocolate products targeting niche markets. Threats. Price volatility in global cocoa market affecting profitability. Stiff competition from established processors in other countries. Adverse effect of climate change on cocoa production. Risk from pests and disease. Reducing crop yields. Political instability and insecurity impacting production and processing. Fluctuations in the value of the Nigerian naira affecting costs and competitiveness. These are clear threats that we can see around us today. So, challenges facing the Nigerian cocoa processing industry. Despite Nigeria's significant cocoa outputs, processors sometimes struggle to source enough high quality beans because they have exported everything due to competition from exporters and logistical hurdles. Unreliable electricity supply is a persistent problem, raising production costs, and causing operational disruptions. Poor transportation infrastructure increases costs and delays deliveries of both raw beans and processed products. Limited access to affordable financing, constrained investment in technology upgrades and capacity expansion. Nigerian processors also face intense competition from more advanced countries, from more advanced industry in countries like Ivory Coast and Ghana. I mean, I'm just very angry when they are calling Ivory Coast and Ghana advanced industries. And finally, we have policy inconsistencies and unstable regulations create uncertainty that discourages further investment in the sector. These are issues that has to be resolved at a macro level. Because without these challenges being resolved, we are going nowhere. Even with FDI, if policy continue to be inconsistent, if regulations remain unstable, and there is uncertainty, how do we get investment in? And I'm sure you will need to be asked about that in the exam because that actually sets the pace, creates the foundation for any investor that is coming. If your environment is not stable, if your macroeconomic environment is not stable, nobody will invest. They won't. So we need to be able to structure our mind into understanding what needs to be done at the macro level for us to attract foreign direct investment and portfolio investment. Then how do we then assess, even at the end of the day, let's assume we're able to get people to invest. Can you do a budget? Can you assess the viability of the projects you want to go into? These are what we have to ensure we do before we leave here today. Now, finally, Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited, company overview, management structure, challenges, and strategic direction. So, Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited was founded in 2014 in Ondo, a region renowned for its significant contributions to Nigeria's cocoa output. The company was established with the aim of adding value to the Nigerian cocoa industry and positioning itself competitively in the global stage. To achieve this, so they shortened Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited as SCPL. Note that because That's what I will also be using in our discussions going forward, since this is the company in question or in case. So SCPL invested in medium-sized cocoa processing facility with capability to process around 10,000 metric tons of cocoa beans. Not bad each year. Though small, but I mean, that's a huge capacity. Medium-sized, they said. The company's initial operations focus on the production of cocoa butter, cocoa cake, and cocoa powder. So this company actually is into processing already. They are doing processing already. And they already supply domestic and export markets right now. Okay. So during its formative years, SCPL experienced moderate growth by tapping into the rising contract. However, over the last 5 years, listen up, over the what? Last 5 years. That means as of today, as of now, and last 5 years, the company has encountered numerous difficulties which have resulted in considerable financial losses. Okay. And you should pay attention to this because they want to start telling us what the problem is. Okay. So first they give us 6 members: chairman, MD, non-executive, executive, non-executive, non-executive. That's the board. Where is independent non-executive? Okay. A point to talk about. Management team, MD, ED, marketing controller, Duni, supply chain and logistic controller, human resource controller, technical or production controller. Okay. Those are the people that work day to day anyway. People that work day to day in the company are the management team. The board, we have non-exec. Non-exec are not employees. They are not supposed to do day to day. They just have board meetings and all that. And yes, they are more than the executive, which is good, right? But the fact that we don't have an independent non-executive director is just the only issue we can see here. The board seems to be balanced, or except if in the unseen, they paint a picture that tells us otherwise, which they might, because you need, when they give you board listings like this, you need to speak to it. You need to speak to governance structure. It's important. Even if they don't ask you, you have to speak to it. So the challenges that this company is facing, they say there are two challenges. One is lack of working capital. See, before I read it, note that this is what you are solving in the exam. Your questions is going to be about this, no doubt. So everything I'll be talking about going forward is about how do we solve these challenges in the light of what's happening in the industry, in the light of what is happening at the macroeconomic level in Nigeria also. How do we help them navigate and be successful in this industry? So two problems, two challenges. One, lack of working capital. So SCPL is currently grappling with a severe shortage of working capital, which is attributable to several factors. One, delayed payment from customers. Why now? Both domestic and international clients often delay their payments, which places significant strain on the company's cash flow. How do we solve that? High interest rates. Borrowing costs in Nigeria are high, making it challenging for SCPL to secure loans for working capital on reasonable terms. Three, outdated plans. The processing plan is obsolete and frequently breaks down, resulting in inefficiency and lower production quality. This has also affected the acceptability of SCPL products in international market. It's a major issue. Probably they will need to buy another plant, something like that. Inefficient inventory management. Excessive inventory levels have tied up capital. So they have a lot of inventories. They can't sell because they reject their goods. Yeah, these outdated plans is affecting the acceptability of their product. Yes, when they have excessive. Yeah, so ineffective inventory management, excessive inventory levels have tied up capital that could be used to more productively elsewhere. Poor finance planning, inadequate financial planning and budgeting has exacerbated cash flow issues and led to excessive borrowings. This is a serious problem. So these challenges have resulted in a number of adverse consequences, including one, inability to purchase sufficient quantities of raw cocoa beans, leading to underutilization of processing plants, delayed payment to suppliers, which has damaged relationships with cocoa farmers and other partners, operational inefficiencies caused by insufficient funds for maintenance and repairs, resulting in plant breakdowns and reducing efficiency. Wow. Hmm. Two, international rejection of products. I mean, see, the reality is that a lot of manufacturing companies in Nigeria have this problem. These are practical. I just said wow because I have a client having a similar issues that we had to solve. These are practical, real life cases of companies. This is what they are facing. It's, it's challenging. Now, the second one is international rejection of product. Of course, now they are, I mean, from regulation to the fact that the their plants are outdated and all that, they will reject their product now. But they will have spent money carrying the products. When it gets to where it's going, those ones will reject storage costs, logistic costs, penalty and fees. Wow. So the company is also contending with rejections of its products in international markets, primarily due to poor quality control. Inconsistent quality control has led to contamination and failure to comply with international standards, such as EU regulations and pesticide residue. So by so when they export the cocoa beans or whatever products, when those ones test it, they can still feel your pesticide inside your product. So they don't want to see any trace of pesticide. That's the challenge with outdated plant. It doesn't remove the pesticide completely. It's a major issue. So lack of certification. The absence of certifications like UTZ, Rainforest Allowance, or Fair Trade has restricted access to premium markets. Inadequate packaging. The packaging currently used by SCPL is not robust enough for long distance shipping and does not sufficiently protect the product. So inadequate packaging, lack of certification, lack of market research. Yes, insufficient research has resulted in a poor understanding of customer preferences and quality expectations abroad. Industry risk. International organizations perceive that industry players in Nigeria adopt unethical practices. Yep. The repercussions of this include loss of export markets due to repeated product rejections, damage to the brand's reputation arising from negative publicity about product quality, increased cost associated with the storage, handling, and disposal of rejected products. You see, loss of market, damage to reputation, increased cost. You know that they are rejecting so storage, handling, this, I mean, it's a lot for them. Now, way forward. Way forward. To address these challenges and restore profitability, SCL board has adopted a comprehensive strategy focused on resolving financial constraints, enhancing product quality, and expanding market reach. The key components of this strategy are as follows: financial restructuring and working capital management. Engage with creditors to restructure existing debts. which may involve extending repayment periods or negotiating lower interest rates, seek equity investment from private equity invest firms, venture capitalists, or strategic partners to inject new working capital, adopt just-in-time inventory management system to minimize capital tied up. Just-in-time is you only produce when there is order, right? Just-in-time. Develop a detailed financial plan and budget with strong focus on cash flow forecasting and cost control. Investigate and apply for government grants and incentives available to agro processing. I'm sure you all know that this is what they were asking in your exam. I'm sure you all know. Maybe not everything, but they will structure it around this. So they could ask you about somebody's coming to invest and all that. Somebody's giving you working capital, assess it. Could ask you about how to apply for government grants. Write something about, write to the government or apply on behalf of the company. Or they'll ask you to justify why government should give us a grant, something like that. That's what you find in your exam. So, 2, quality improvement and certification. Implement a robust quality management system, incorporating stringent quality control procedures throughout the production process, from raw material sourcing to packaging, storage. Consideration should be given to implementing ISO 22000 food safety management systems. These are not free. These are not free. They will pay money for them. Invest in up-to-date quality control equipment to ensure compliance with international standards regarding pesticides, heavy metals. These are not free. These are not free. These are the things you'll use the investments to do. Provide comprehensive training to staff involving in production on quality. Yes. Obtain relevant certifications. Yes. Launch a supplier development programs to work with farmers, offering training and improved agricultural inputs to enhance the quality of cocoa beans. Okay. Upgrade packaging by investing in high quality materials that protect the products during shipping and meet international requirements. A lot of investments to do here. 3rd, backward integration. Consider acquiring or leasing cocoa farms to ensure a stable supply of high-quality cocoa beans and lessen dependency on external suppliers. This approach requires substantial capital investment and management expertise. Yes, so obviously they might ask you this. They might ask you, I won't say 100%, yes, they will, because they cannot possibly, there's too many things to ask. You guys, this diet is so open. I've never seen a diet this open as this before. Very open. That even for me, it's quite challenging to predict because too many things to ask. Too many things. But which is why we're having 2 sessions anyways. So form partnership with cocoa farmers through cooperatives or agro schemes, providing them with training, inputs, and financial support in exchange for a consistent supply of quality beans at competitive prices. Okay. So this partnership. So this backward integration. Go to source. Instead of you waiting for people to give you raw materials, why don't you have a segment that does that and you get it steady? That's what this is talking about. And they say they require substantial capital investment. Of course, yes, you spend money to get that. So we're going to look at a scenario of how to assess whether this works. Then strategic alliances. SPL intends to pursue strategic alliances with global chocolates and cocoa-based consumer goods manufacturers. Such partnerships are expected to be mutually beneficial. So the international partner contribution, the international partner will supply modern chocolate manufacturing machinery, provision of technical expertise in quality control, branding, and product development, an injection of additional working capital. SCPL contribution, access to raw material supply chains within Nigeria, existing processing facilities and workforce, and establish local market. knowledge, and government relationships. Okay. So, yeah, as strategic alliances, definitely this is also very high. Is high likelihood that you would say this. Part of what I will do next week is that I would invite Mr. Ali. He would speak to you about some models, like Ansoff, most likely, and he will also come up with few models. Probably will speak to us for like 30 to 40 or 1 hour around just have an understanding of, okay, which of this strategic direction works using specific models, right? I need you to also be ready for that, just in case, just in case. So all that will be examined next week. Stanley is an expert in that, does that very well. So then the anticipated benefit for SCPL include value addition by moving up the value chain to produce branded chocolate products, improvement in quality through the adoption of international best practices, enhanced financial stability, and improved market access via the partner's global distribution network. So these are the benefits of this strategic alliance, value addition, moving up value chain and all that. So that is if they partner with these guys. For the international partners, the advantages encompasses a secure supply of Nigerian cocoa beans, production cost savings by processing near the source, access to the expanding West African chocolate market, and an opportunity to, they're just telling you what each would benefit if you partner with an international company that will bring in machinery and money. Okay, Usman, if it's urgent, ask. If it's not, let me finish my analysis.
Okay, you can
Usman,
finish your analysis, sir.
all right, thank you.
It's not urgent, sir.
So, thank you very much. Number 5 is risk and mitigation strategies. So, relating to these strategic directions, these are the risk, policy inconsistency. The impact is that it can affect incentives and export grain grants. Okay. How to mitigate is to negotiate long-term agreements with government support. You need to be able to justify all of this. How do you negotiate long-term agreement and government support? Quality control lapses, impacts, could damage brand reputation. Mitigation, continued training, strict quality control protocols, and obtaining certifications such as ISO, Fair Trade, and UTZ. A currency volatility impact, increased cost of imports, including machinery and other inputs. Mitigation, use forward contracts to hedge currency exposure and maintain foreign exchange reserves. Risk, cultural and operational differences, impacts, misalignment in management styles. Mitigation, establish a joint venture governance structure with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. See, you need to understand that case studies, look at what they are giving. It's like they are giving you everything, problems, solutions, how to go about it. But what they have refused to give us are numbers. Even though we are not just number crunchers, but we need number to gain insight into all of this so that we can advise the company on the basis of all of this using our judgment. Even though we do not want you to start reiterating what we have given you in the pre start rewriting it. It's what we want is your ability to tell us that this is what you should do on the basis of what I've seen, on the basis of my analysis. I can say that you have this problem, and which is also confirmed in the pre. And this is what I would advise you to do. And what you might be advising them to do might not be outside of what is here. might just need to add some context to it, depending on the unseen. Might add some context to it at the end of the day. But this is a lot of data you have, and it's a very interesting read. Now, they gave us financials for this company for 2 years, 22 and 23. Yes, a lot of data. I mean, what is catching my attention is the fact that they have a negative retained earnings. That is an evidence of cumulative losses. Cumulative losses. So, I mean, that's, yeah, 216 million. Last year, 755 million. If this trajectory should continue, it will wipe up, equity will be wiped off entirely. That's sure. Equity is going to be wiped off next year to be negative. There's nothing anybody can tell me. The equity of this company is going to be negative next year. Then you have huge liabilities, huge overdrafts, borrowings, taxes income, plenty. The good thing that they don't even have current tax, and that's clear because they are making losses. But even in Nigeria, sef, you pay minimum tax. So why is current tax not there? Except if they are new, and they are not new. They have been existing for a long time. So current tax should be there now. You pay minimum tax, but they didn't give us. We might speak to it. Then income tax. Look at their finance costs. Huge, 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 huge. Cost of sales is even higher than revenue. Okay, they didn't pay tax in 2023. Why now? Loss for the year. 60. The loss even increased. So I can easily predict that it will increase next year too. Okay, so that's the end of the present. So it took me how many minutes to read? Like 1 hour to read. Reading and analyzing at the same time. So you need to read this so that you won't have to read it again in the exam because it won't change you. So that it won't take you long. So that you would, you have 1 hour reading time, right? Spend most of that with your unseen. So what I've done is I've tried to bring, to a large extent, this prescene. I try to bring it alive in front of you. It's clear that this company is faced with problems. They are a loss-making company. They are in a sector that needs huge government support. They are in a sector that needs money. They are in a sector whereby they have raw materials, but they are not available because of exporters. They are exporting a lot of them. And the nation, the challenges remains the same: infrastructural, political instability, foreign exchange fluctuations. All these are issues. And the company is trying to help itself. The company has identified its problem. He has come out and said, I have working capital problem. My products are rejected in international markets. They have come out to say that. And they know exactly what they want to do. They know that they would need to restructure. They would need money. They know. They will need to restructure some loans. They know that they may probably have to do backward integration because they can't get raw materials. They need to source it. They need to have a consistent source. So that backward integration is key. They know that they need money. All of this requires money. They know. They came up that we might also be looking at strategic alliances with foreign firms. So your job is to analyze these their directions and advise which one they should go for. Or the examiner can tell you, just give you one of it, and this is what they want to do. This is what they want to do. Then you research into it and tell us whether they should do it or not. And that's what we're going to discuss for another 1 hour in this class and all that. So before I show you my predictions, let me hear from you. If you have anything to say, many comments around this, your view, your observations, we can use 5 to 10 minutes to talk about that. Then we quickly move into the next phase of our study today. So I'm going to start with Mr. Altman before I move to MM. So, Mr. Altman, please, now you can speak.
Yes, sir. In mine, actually, it was because you mentioned Mr. Halley. Obviously, as you said, I think this is an area that is really centered on his area, which mostly talk about models and models of analysis, considering the problem we are seeing here. I wanted to just draw your attention to the fact that since the diet started, he did not give us the study materials. If you can please help us tell him to just release the study material to us, because it contains about 20% of the SFM syllabus. It's aspect of the
20%?
I think they said his aspect of the syllabus is 20% of the
Wow.
SFM, or maybe more, I don't know. But just help us appeal to him to release the study material to us before the exam, sir. Thank you.
No problem. Mr. Ali is here with you and he's raising up his hand. But today is not for him. So he might probably have to raise down his hand back. So, Eme, please go ahead. So, Mr. Eme, I see Mr. Altman, he will share it for your SFM. He will definitely share it with you guys. Be rest assured. He will do that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other comments? Where are my students?
Sir,
Where is
sorry,
Pelumi?
can I say something, please? Good
I'm
afternoon, sir.
raising up my hand. Okay, someone is talking.
Okay.
Okay. All right, please go ahead, Moses.
Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I think this is my first time on writing case study anyway. But when I saw
Too
the
bad.
pre-scene, I think I took my time a little bit to go through it. But when I got to the statement of comprehensive income, I began to tell myself, as an accountant, I said, even the financial controller in that organization has to be questioned. Because how can you tell me that your cost of sales is even higher than your revenue? That means something is wrong. That means you are selling your product, the selling price is even lower. You are selling below the cost price. Because if you look at 2023, they said their revenue is about 161 million naira. And you are telling me that the cost of sales is 185 million. Who does that?
It's pathetic.
That means in your even in your inventory, probably where they are producing, where they are having a lot of wastage, and the supply chain officer is not in charge to control all those stuff. That's why their cost of sales is higher than their revenue. That's my first observation from that angle. Then going for finance cost, I began to look at their finance cost. Though the finance cost dropped a little bit in 2023 compared to what happened in 2022, from 28 million naira back to 23 million naira. Even higher than admin expenses. That means something is wrong. Are you telling me that that means you are even borrowing money to pay for operating expenses? And if companies begin to borrow money to pay for salaries and wages, that means that such company, just a short period of time, the company will come to an end. So my observation is from those two places, the financial control, either if you go for a training to question his ability in working that organization for his cost price to be more than his revenue, or they are selling price, they are not pricing their product very well. But within that place, I'm thinking that probably if the unseen will come up, probably they will bring some adjustment. Probably this maybe have some expenses that are supposed to be indirect expenses are coming to direct, that they are taking it back to cost of sale. They will tell us to do some adjustment in this area to reduce the cost of sales. Then when I look at the JD, then the problem the company is facing, and invariably, I begin to even question myself. I think they are even giving us solution to the company's problem.
Problems, yeah.
Yeah, predicting where the question will come from now, I begin to ask myself, see, they are giving us the solution to the problem. So what are they going to ask us in the exam again? That's why you as a professional, you are here to tell us that the direction, where the perceived, where the unseen will come from. Thank you.
Exactly, Moses. That's a very interesting one. And I can tell you for free, now with this kind of mind you have, I mean, this course will be an easy ride for you. I'm interested in your results at the end of the day. It's pretty much what we're looking for in a case study student. Case study is not a topic you would learn, right? Yes, I will give you a report, I will do all of that. But at the end of the day, we need your mind. We need you to do some analysis and speak to the numbers, get insight into what's happening, give us your judgment. We don't expect the same answer. We need you to look at these things from different directions. I can assure you that you're going to do well. I like your comments, good observations, right? Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah, good one. Let me call Eme. Eme has been raising up her hand. So, are you ready to speak now?
Yes. Sorry, this was putting me out of the class. So, my name is Beato, please, which was why I was quite confused. I don't know if you can hear me, please.
Yes, I can hear you, Beato. Sorry, I
Okay,
saw
which,
Emerenini also.
I was quite confused when you said but I figured you were talking to me. So,
All
I
right.
want to speak on two things. Could you please scroll to the financial position? Yeah, so from the I don't know, we can't see very well. Is it possible to kind of pinch it so we can see the full position? No, the full position, yeah. So we can see both assets and liabilities. Yeah. Okay. As the liability portion is not showing, but let me say what I want to say anyways. So the non-current assets is about 549 million, while current assets is 107 million. And if we go to the liability portion, we'll see that non-current liability is about 111 million, right? Yes. While current liabilities is 494 million, which is almost the same thing as the non-current asset, just a little thing more than the non-current, less than the non-current asset. So it seems they are using current liabilities to finance their current assets. So there's a bit of risk there for the company because they're not supposed to use their money market instruments to finance their capital markets. They are losing a bit of money there because of the way that they are financing their assets. That's the first thing I want to say. So the second thing I want to say is in the governance structure. I don't know if you could go to the governance as well. So when you said that the board was kind of balanced, I was quite confused because I think that the board is supposed to be odd numbered so that when they vote, we can have there could be a majority votes here. So, and I think there are about 6 of them here. And then also, since it's the manufacturing industry, there is nobody representing manufacturing on the board. So, at the board level, there's not that idea of the kind of manufacturing skill set that the company needs. It's just at the controller level. And this person might not have that vast experience to, and also the power to make certain decisions, which is also why we can see that their assets are very much depreciated and the assets are requiring a lot of repairs, which is also feeding into their cost of sales. So those are the two things I wanted to say. Thanks.
That's extremely impressive. That's extremely impressive. particularly your first point around mismatch, financing assets with current liabilities, with overdrafts and all that. Similar to what Moses also identified, that they are most likely borrowing to finance their expenses. That's a major loophole. That so apparently this company would have efficiency problem, they will have liquidity problem at the end of the day, which will be resolved with the ratios. And also your comment around board structure is also apt. And a lot of things can also speak to this. Like you spoke about odd numbers here. That's a point to note. And the fact that they don't have an independent representative, like Manufacturers Association, and even an independent non-executive director. So fantastic. Very good observations from you. Beato. Good one, good one, good one. And very intelligent. So Pelumi, please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, sir. Okay, so
Good
my
evening.
comment too would start from the financial position first. To start with, I mean, a part of the paragraph was saying something like they have delayed payment from customers or something, but then if you look at their trade receivables compared to their revenue, it's not that high compared to their trade payable. So it's possible that I'm not very sure that customers are delaying payments. They are the one even delaying payments to their suppliers. If you look at their, their trade and other payables. For the income statement, I also want to believe that there's going to be some adjustment to it because I mean, someone has mentioned that the cost of sales is even higher than the revenue. Well, I mean, I think the paragraph so has kind of spoken for itself, talking about the inefficiency. It's possible that what they are deploying to make revenue is much more higher than what they are gaining. But I also want to believe that there is going to be, some kind of adjustment to it. And what I think they might ask us to do, I mean, in the for the unseen part, they'll probably be looking at maybe like a joint venture proposal, or maybe we'll be looking at a kind of capital restructuring. We see that they have so much debt on their book. I mean, maybe we want to might be asked to do a form of capital restructuring to see if some of these debts are turned into equity, or if some of the shareholders are asked to bring in more money, to finance some projects. Maybe we have to probably do a new statement, like a forecast statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, if there's a form of capital restructuring in the business. I think we're also going to be asked to, to evaluate, a backward integration program. They're probably going to tell us that, okay, the company is considering, doing this. And note for backward integration, I'm asked to evaluate how that is going to affect the company, and how it's going to affect the company, and what will probably be the maybe net present value of the backward integration. I mean, I feel like they're all just intertwined, them injecting more capital or them injecting more, debt. And then for the debt part, they are currently, borrowing at a very high cost. We might also want to suggest that they look into government what's the word now?
Grant.
Places like BOI, BOI are very much into manufacturing, and they will give you loans at, I mean, I know before last year it used to be 1 digit, but now that it's even to just about 12% or something. So I also want to advise them to look at that, maybe to buy off their existing debt that is currently so high, and then inject government grants or government loans that comes at very, low percentage. And then you also want to look at maybe them having injected all that. Maybe they also want to expand just from maybe producing just cocoa alone. They might want to look at maybe production into finished products, maybe like branded chocolate. I mean, you already have the cocoa, right? So you won't be able to take a step further to produce like a finished product that would, speak to the market and all. So that's it. From now.
That's fantastic from you, Pelumi. That's fantastic. And you're not far from it at all. And I agree with you. Basically, they are my predictions as well. But I mean, like I mentioned, there are just too many things to look at that we cannot possibly look at most of them. But the approach we're going to use is that whichever it is that we're picking, can speak to whatever strategic direction the company wants to take at the end of the day, right? So that's the approach we have to take ultimately. With the 2 sessions we're going to have, we should cover all those angles, that whichever, because the examiner is not going to ask you all of them. Historically, maximum questions or requirement they give us is 3, maximum is 4. It's even 3 in most cases, right? So if they ask 4, I mean, we're going to look at 4 requirements here today, but you're just there, and your observations are notable as well. Okay. BC. Hola, BC. Okay, she's not ready. Michael, Angel Michael.
Okay, good evening, sir, or good afternoon. I wanted to also like everybody they have like what they have everybody has mentioned is also is good as well. But in
Can I
the
speak after?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I wanted to point out that in Exhibit 4, there's like a paragraph there that was talking about no scroll down, not in the beginning, like towards the end. Scroll. Yeah, here.
Okay.
Okay, scroll more. The paragraph about movement up the value chain, I feel like that part like highlighted like what they might ask us.
Mm.
So I think here the anticipated benefit for SCPL, the movement in the value chain. So I feel like they might introduce the branded chocolates. They might introduce that part in the question, and then the improvement through adoption of international best practices. You mentioned something about they might say something about an advocacy paper. They have done that before in the case study about Biodap and Biopad. So is also a possibility. And we also have to look at their financials because somebody had mentioned their over dependency on short term loans. So that I feel like those two, the introduction of the new product, the finished chocolate product, and their financials are like two things that I feel like are for sure going to come out in the final in the unseen. And
Mm.
yes, the financial controller, because if we are going to speak about the board of the the board management and board structure, that yes, like it's very well balanced, okay, but the production controller and the financial controller, I I don't think they have like they have enough experience because their two main issues are coming from um, working capital issues and international rejection. He mentioned that in earlier exhibits. So their problem of the company is not that they're not that it's not that the cocoa production sector is bad. It's just that their financial controller and their production quality control person, they are not very equipped because those are where their two main problems are coming from. So I think again, if we want to speak on the board, we speak on the experiences or qualifications of those two people, the introduction of the new product, their financial stability issues, how to enhance that, maybe through debt restructuring or equity injection or equity injection, and how we could improve the company as a whole through like the international best practices that they have like mentioned throughout um the whole precinct. So those are my observations.
Beautiful observations. Beautiful observations. I think one of you guys is going to win prize for me this night. Even without even, I've not shown you my unseen, and you guys are speaking to it like what I want to hear precisely. That intelligence, Angel, good one. Very good one. Okay, BC, go ahead, please.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, from this saying, it looks like not like it looks like they have told us what the problems are and also given us solutions to these problems. So I want to believe that our unseen will be coming from foreign direct investments, likely asking us to write to request for grants from probably um what international organizations, or they will ask us to write a pitch to
Hmm.
attract foreign investors.
Hmm. Hmm. Most likely, fully agree with you. Most likely, most likely. So, if anything at all, we have to do that. Even if they don't ask that, that's your ability to pitch this industry is important here before you go and write this exam. It gives you a comprehensive understanding of what's happening in this sector, the potential of the sector. So I fully agree with you, Bise. It's really it. And the issue of FDI cannot be overemphasized, even within the Nigerian economy today. It's something we need, it's something industries need as of today. So they might also go in that direction as well. Because this company has issues that they need urgent funding. FDI might be the way to go. Yes, good one from you, Bishop. Shimamaka, yeah, your turn.
Hello?
Shimamaka, my friend,
Yes, good evening.
how are you? Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I feel like the problem is actually there are lots. Because when I was reading it yesterday, I was trying to take notes and see where the question will come from. Because I've given you a lot of things that we said, starting from the financial statements, where Mr. Moses spoke to the revenue and the cost of sales being higher than the revenue. The problem is they have already stated, like they stated several, I don't know whether I call it clues, because when they said, if you even look at the assets, they have a high number of fixed assets, but these assets are not being deployed to actually create products to sell. It was mentioned somewhere that they can't even afford to buy the the raw materials to produce. So that's one issue. Another issue is that the products that they do manage to produce are being rejected internationally.
Mm,
So obviously that's going to affect revenue. And then in terms of like the whole, I just feel like the financial statement, something going to really come from there because I was even confused as a part, like why impairment was positive in 2022 and on what basis, since they were making loss and they have been making loss, I did not know what basis they were using to charge their income tax for 2022. So I was also confused there. And then in the statement of financial position, there's a lot of, like you said, negative retained earnings. Even their deferred tax liabilities is quite high. And then the liquidity issues is also a big major issue because if you look at their cash is quite low. And their trade receivables is also low, but their trade payables are very, very, very high. So the
mm,
ratios are really, I feel like the ratios are going to be key as well. And
mm,
then, like the liquidity issue, inventory they spoke about, inventory is high. So their inventory turnover is obviously going to be a problem. And yes, like I also agree with me about it from my major this was the construction because they mentioned something about equity, looking for equity and also looking for grants. I feel like they have to because this level of debt, I don't even know how they want to start coming out because they're already making loss, have been making loss. So they might actually
mm,
have to, yeah. And also, what Mr. Moses mentioned about if you look at the general admin expenses, also very high, and the cost of sales very high, and the finance cost very high. So I wonder what they are including. And the admin expenses, considering like the general and admin expenses, I don't know what exactly is inside, but I think things like salaries or something, like it may be too high. So I feel like, and
mm,
also pressing other issues, they mentioned quality that they kept mentioning, and that was really affecting their sales because
mm,
the lack of quality is what leads to the rejection, and the rejection is making them have bad reputation and loss of sales, right? So
mm,
the thing they
mhm,
mentioned quality management system, they mentioned just in time. There are so many places where question are very confused. Like there are several. It can be quality management, it can be sources of finance, it can be the backward integration, it can be the international partnership, it can be capital reconstruction. But yeah, all these things are contributing. I really feel like these finances are going to be a major part of this exam.
Hmm. Hmm. Fantastic. Fantastic, Shimemaka. So, I mean, we will try our best to see how we can cover those holes and get you guys prepared for the exam and have a structured mind on how to answer it. A lot. This diet seems to have a lot of gaps. It's plenty. And as you guys have also seen, thankfully. Okay, good one, Shimemaka. Actually, Tom, your turn.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So, based on what was said in class today, and based on what I understood from looking at the pre-scene yesterday and today, what I observed is that from the key responsibilities that they want us to do, analyzing the financial statements and the business proposals and things like that, that what we need to do in like as someone that they employed to come and help them find a solution or sort out the problem that is going on. The way I would have gone about it is first to look at the financial statements, and based on what we've seen and based on what everybody is saying, we can all agree that the major issue, financially speaking, that the company is going through is having is their cost management and debt. So our financial statement, financial ratios that we would use is something that would reflect or bring those things into picture. Those are like the solvency ratios and liquidity ratios, as well as performance ratios, to just know how the company has been performing over the 2 years, even though we know that, like, yes, it's bad. Then, based on those ratios that we have now calculated, I believe that the company, for now, even before considering any new project to help them boost revenue and boost revenue, they should consider activities that would improve their quality, of which they've already said in the question, and which the person that spoke before me also said that if they can improve the quality of their product, it will allow them to have sales, like approved sales, and increase their sales for now, which will give them more money to partake in any project that they want to actually go into. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, what I would really recommend for the company is to actually go ahead and truly implement those quality um quality activities that they want to do to ensure like quality in their production and things like that. So after ensuring those and doing those things, I think the company will have breathing room to now afford going into any project, because for now they are bleeding money and they need inflow to be able to do anything material. Then for any other for but I believe that for any project or anything that the company wants to do, the capital or the money for it cannot just come solely from revenue. They need another source of inflow. So I believe they have two sources: government grants and issuing of shares. Government grant, in the sense that as we've seen in the question, there have been government policies in the precinct. There are government policies that are available. Oh, oh, okay.
I think his network threw him out.
Yes. Mm, mm.
Yeah,
Okay,
Fashe,
sir.
sorry.
Yes, yes, I can go on, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes, so like I was saying, that the new sources of inflow of capital that the company can use aside from revenue is government grants and issuing of shares. Government grants, because as we've seen in the preceding, there are government grants available for this industry, which the company should actually tap into in order to either reduce costs or to get assets that are required to help them better produce their products. Then issuing of shares, I believe that they should not go into debt because I think their interest cover would be very bad and their debt to equity ratio would be like in a very negative light. So I don't think they will be able to afford any other debt. Plus, I don't think any creditors would be confident enough to provide them with any other capital. So issuing of shares should be what they should target to attract shareholders to gather more funds to actually go into the project. Now, speaking of the project, I'm thinking that it would be I don't know whether I want to say like combination, but I think it would be in the question I have in mind, the project I have in mind is something like maybe they would go into the production of the chocolates, but in the going to into the production of the chocolate, they will have to partner with someone to go into that production or something like that.
Mm.
And that would be because that one would cover the partnership idea that they had and would cover the integration thing that they wanted to do. So that's just what I'm looking at. I was just looking at things surrounding the project. Then when it now comes to the project, all we have to do is just appraise it to see if it is viable. Either it is MPV we are using IRR um or I don't know, maybe discounted payback, something like that. So just to appraise the project, and if the project is viable, fine, they should go into it, but they need to consider how they would fund that project, which is what I've said is the issuing of shares that I would recommend for them. Then, aside all this, I would also talk about the um ethical issues, which is, as you said earlier, any external, they did not have any external independent director in their board of directors that would actually relate with or look at the company without any form of bias. Then I will also recommend them having better internal control procedures and or something that would help them better control their costs or their spending in the company in order to prevent any further wastage. Then I would also recommend something came to my head, but it slipped. Well, I also recommend other things. I don't know. There's something I had in mind, but I've forgotten it. But those are the things I would speak about aside the analysis of their financial statements. So that's all I had in mind.
Yeah, that's intelligent, and I can assure you that what you find in the exam is not far from what you have mentioned. It's not far from it at all. And because almost all of us are thinking in similar light. So I think we are moving in the right direction. Okay, let's hear from Obafemi.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Hi, Obafemi.
Yes, sir. Okay, in as much as we are trying to revive the company, I would like to speak to the exhibit 4
Hmm.
that talks about working capital issue. I can see that one of the issue is delay in customer paying. Even from abroad, they are still delaying in payments. I think one of the solutions we can provide in that area is how if we can outsource the receivables of the company for which because the cash and cash equivalent of in our statement of financial position is very, very low. If we can outsource our receivables, both that can get our money from home and abroad on time, I think it will also boost our current assets in terms of cash, even as we are looking at other aspects in reviving the company. So that's just my little contribution.
Fine. So you focused more on how we can get our money from customers, and that's a critical point that you will definitely have to make in the exam because this company has serious liquidity issues, very serious one, and these are part of the solutions that you have to prefer. So, good one, Abubakar. Back to you. Abubakar, okay, he's not ready. Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, sir. What I observed in the financial position is relating to the deposits for shares. So, for this deposit of shares, I observed that the money was just in the account and it didn't change for the period of 2 years. And since the company is in financial distress, and this money that is deposited for shares has to come from probably from some investors. And I'm just wondering, like, since the company is in financial distress, why have they not utilized this money to like to do whatever the problem is? Like, the money is just there and is not putting some ethical consideration, like why is the money just there and the board of management is not utilizing that money. And also, I also want to say something about the problems that the company is facing, because when they established the company, it was during the period where they were still seeing some demand. That was when the cocoa industry was kind of reviving. So during that period, when they established, they were still making some move. So the problem that's facing this company is internally, like it generated internally. So the problem should be on more of like the qualification of the management, like what are they doing? Because just like the previous speaker said, if they are having if their cost of sales is more than the revenue, that means the board of directors are not putting any control in place. And the fact that it didn't just happen once, it happened consecutively. So that poses a serious concern on the qualification of the board of like of the management. That's what I want to say, sir.
That's beautiful. Yes, sir. That's very good observation. But note that for deposit for shares, it has to
Yes,
remain the
that's what I
same.
want to say.
Okay, it has to remain, it cannot move. Deposit for shares is just a credit. The other leg is in bank or assets. So they have
It's an
already
asset.
used it.
Exactly.
Yes, they have
Exactly.
already used it.
To
It's
acquire
not,
fixed
it's
assets. Yes.
exactly. So it's not
Exactly.
money that's available. It's just a representation. Equity is a representation of assets and liability. So it's a representation of assets majorly. Okay, I hope that's clear. So don't make that point in the case at all
So
in the
sorry, please,
exam.
can you explain it again? Is it like the money that shareholders paid to buy the share issued or something?
So deposit. So you have share capital. Share capital is what is on their CSC documents, formerly what the capital they brought in. So deposit for shares is if they bring in more money, but hasn't been registered with CSC. Okay, you cannot go and put that kind of capital in share capital. You put it as deposit for shares. And that's what you're seeing here as deposit for shares. So it's just similar treatment with capital. So when people bring in money, you credit capital, you debit bank. So the other leg is in bank, and from bank apparently they have spent all the money now, because what's remaining in the bank? Just 3 point something million. And again, the money is not just coming in. As you can see, we don't know when they bought in that deposit for shares, but it has in 2022 it's 435 million, 2023 435 million. So the money has been bought in even before then. So they have spent, money is gone. So please let's note that. Yetunde, your turn.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi,
So
Yetunde.
I just want to make little suggestions to what they've said earlier. I feel
Okay.
the main thing that the company needs is their management, because I could see they don't even have any auditor to even check their finances about their cost of sales being higher than their sales, and the financial controller, like the other people said. And also, they need to engage in government, sorry, they need to um, request for government grants, because
Hmm.
if they should collect loan, they have a lot of debt on them that is still very hard to live in, which can even lead to liquidity. So they need that government grant to make a reduction in their debt and for them to like perform better. And also, in terms of products, the cocoa products, all this cocoa powder and the stuff they are producing, it's quite competitive, because if you go to supermarket, there are a lot of brands that make it and they are safe. So they could
Hmm.
try to seek for professionals that can make their product exceptional. In terms of like, let me use comparison of Milo and Bonfita. There's no way that you're going to drink this, so then Milo will always be better than Bonfita. Because Bonfita is always too serious. So in a way to make their product best in the market, they will need to do one or two differences, and they could even put candy stuff that can be produced with cocoa, because I'm sure it's not only cocoa powder and the chocolate that we mentioned that we can make. You can even make cocoa drink, like a Nutri Choco something, which anybody, your whether old or young people can buy, and it's going to move the market. And also, they can also partner with another company, like someone said earlier, to help with the production in case they cannot afford, because their debt is a lot. Another solution I would want to like make is the better for them to go for liquidity, because it will be, maybe if they give us the unseen, we can see additional information. It will be very hard for them to survive their debt, except they also seek for more shareholders. But I don't think if that would be able to like help. And also, there's one part in the SCP that says about the policy relating to the cocoa industry itself. So it's not really favorable to the company. So that's what I can say for now. That's it.
Hmm. You're today fantastic. You're my friend, and I like your practicality. And I like the example you gave for Bonfita and Milo. And I hope you'll be able to apply this practicality when you see the unseen at the end of the day, because these are the kind of analysis we want in the exam. We need your judgment, we need your recommendations, we need your mind to work. I can only give you a guide just to make so that you structure your mind together and to boost your confidence that okay, this thing is no more than this. Now that's what I can do. But at the end of the day, your mind is needed, and I think you have that. Yeah, great one. Okay, yeah. Fantastic contributions from everyone. I think I'm very happy with what I'm hearing from you guys, and which is so much in sync with my line of thought to a very large extent. And I think we are moving in that direction. So with this, and I hope that every one of you that is here, even those that did not talk, are paying very close attention to what we are talking about, because everything being said here that's what we call pricing analysis. And what we're trying to do is giving us an in-depth understanding of the case, as it were. From all these discussions, we have properly dissected the financial statement of this company also we have looked at their problems, challenges, and I mean the directions they need to go to. And we have seen people talk about the likely questions the exam is going to ask. Okay, so now with this in mind, I would not speak to this anymore because um most of you have identified these gaps already. These are the gaps I identified. And I sent a video on YouTube already speaking about this already, and which is what most of you already talked about. They'll give us some notes and all of that. The international rejection, strategic alliances, backward integration, governance, no governance issue highlighted, no third party letter. These are things you find in the exams majorly. These are things you find, which most of you have. I think most of you did not even see that video, and you're speaking to like we are insane. So now for me, this is my prediction for the unsane. So I'm going to send this to you. We're going to look at another variation of this next week. Either one, we cannot cover all, it's not possible. But we're going to have a uniform approach where we're going to have a solution that can accommodate most of what you're speaking to at the end of the day. So thankfully, this unseen that I have for you, to a large extent, I've captured most of what you're talking about. So I just simulated how the examiner would ask it in the exam. I just removed just one. So usually you have like around six exhibits or thereabout. I have 5 here. So I omitted one that is always a repetition because the first exhibit they will give you is the email from your boss. The next exhibit will be email from your clients, whether they are financial controller, to your boss. It's always the same thing. So I just focused on one of them, and that's where you find the requirement. So the first exhibit here is email from your boss, Thomas, right, who is the partner of your firm, to you. The second exhibit talks about the company. They give us 2024 financials, right? We have 2020. They gave us 22, 23. So assuming that they will give you additional one for the current year. And exhibit 8, as you have all mentioned, they will give us additional information on the financial statement and some governance issues. All right. And they might not give you any governance issues. So a lot of you guys have spoken to, I think my first speaker, Beato, she mentioned something very critical, right? That the board should be odd so that when they are voting, there will not be situations where there will be uniform votes and there won't be any way forward. They're very critical. So even if they don't give you governance issues, these are issues that can be raised. And even if you don't mention that, you need to see the fact that they don't have an independent non-executive, which is a major issue as well. Because if that was there, then we'll have odd number on the board, right? Already. So here, so exhibit 9, here I put proposed strategic alliance with Euro Choco. So what I am predicting is the fact that they will go for strategic alliance, right? And also, of course, they always give you this almost in every diet, that all the diets we looked at, there's always a letter from a regulator. So in this case, because of the international rejection they're having, so I just put letter from European Union importer about their rejection, impact, and all of that. So they will have a letter from that, which should be a governance issues, it should be an ethical issue, and increase their cost and all of that. You also need to speak to that. So next week, the other variations I'm going to look at is I'm going to replace this exhibit 9. Every other thing will remain. I'm replacing this exhibit 9 with a backward integration, right? So we'll look at how to resolve that. Fundamentally, it's going to be the same. Yes, because for backward integration, the reality is that they will need investment. Why I went for this today is that where will they get the money? If they want to do backward integration, where are they going to get the money? Where will they get the money for that? So it's most likely that a strategic alliance is a more viable option for them. Or maybe we're going to look at a two scenario situations where we would have to compare strategic alliance with an international company with backward integration. And let's see what works. But I know we need another variation at the end of the day, but the analysis remains the same. So my exhibit 6, like you have it in the exam. So they will ask you that, okay, email from your boss, from Thomas, to date, subjects. Then they are talking to you. Dear Tokumbo, I hope you're well. We have been engaged by the board of Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited to provide advisory services as the company seeks to implement its turnaround strategy. The board is particularly concerned about the company's financial position, the recent rejection of its product in international markets, and a proposed strategic alliance with an international partner. Okay, this is how they will put it. Whatever it is they decide to do, they will tell you, right? Either the backward integration or strategic alliance. One of them is going to happen in the exam, or maybe the two of them. But be ready; you're going to find it there, no doubt. So I've reviewed the draft 2024 financial statement and the additional information provided by the finance director. That's your guy talking. I also have the proposal for the strategic alliance with Hiroshiko International. We read that in Exhibit 9, and a concerning letter from a European importer. So please prepare a draft report for my review to be submitted to the board of Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited. Your report should include the following. So this is the requirement. This is what I am predicting. Number one, because of the direction of this question, the fact that they are mentioning government support, government this, which is similar to one diet that we have looked at. And I saw that diet, they asked for advocacy paper. Even if they don't ask this one, your ability to understand and be able to write this advocacy paper would help you in whatever it is they're asking. But even if they don't, if they do, good for you, it makes your life easy. If they don't, the knowledge you're going to get from studying the response we give to this guy here would help, right? But I mean, most likely it's something you would need to write about. So you're supposed to prepare a stance for inclusion in advocacy paper to the federal government, soliciting the expansion of agricultural and agro-processing policies to support the cocoa processing industry. Your submission should identify specific policy incentives needed to revive the sector, drawing on the information in Exhibit 2 and 3 of the present. They might not present it this way, but basically, you need to be able to identify and justify why they should support the cocoa processing industry. You need to specifically be able to speak to what policy incentives should the government implement to revive the sector. Yes. Number 2, this one is certain that you'll find this one there. Review financial statement. You're definitely going to be doing ratios, no doubt. It's always there every time. Number 3, this is the point where, depending on what they want you to do, whether a strategic alliance or backward integration, this is the point where they will ask that evaluate the financial viability of the proposed strategic alliance with Hiroshiko International as set out in Exhibit 9. Your evaluation should calculate expected incremental contribution or cash flows from the alliance, determine whether the project meets the board expected minimum return of 20% using IRR, include sensitivity analysis on the key assumptions, revenue, gross margin, all that. So basically, you need to be able to assess the viability of whatever direction they are moving to. You need to be able to assess it. You need to be able, and basically NPV, IRR, payback period, what and other tool that you can explore in the exam. And all these you're going to be doing in your appendix. And it's not about the number of tool that you use, but it's about computing something that you are comfortable speaking to, even if it is only payback period that you can do, an IRR. Something that you know will help you assess financial viability, just so that you won't spend all your time doing appendix. I think it's only like 20 marks or 10 at the end of the day. So you need to do it very fast. You do your calculations, whatever it is, do your calculations for you to get whether the project is viable or not. Appendix is not for stories. Appendix is for calculations, ratios and calculations. Then you move to your main report. You have to dedicate 2 hours for that, so that at least you can have an extra 30 minutes for your executive summary. If I were you, I will farabalẹ̀ and write the executive summary. I will come down and write it. I will write it last. I won't write it first. If you are not comfortable by me saying write it last, you can leave space for it, but it does not matter. Follow through from requirement to requirement. You see, I'll show you. So they might not specifically give you this in the exam, right? But you have to speak to it, even if they don't talk about it. Governance, ethics, and sustainability. You can't run away from it. It's almost 20 marks. You can't, even if they don't talk about it. You have to speak to it. So here, I'm asking you to evaluate the adequacy of SADCO's current governance and management structure to effectively support its proposed strategic direction, enlighten the adjustments needed to ensure oversight and accountability. B, identify and discuss the ethical issues arising from the information provided in Exhibit 8 and Exhibit 10 and recommend how the board should address them. C, based on the opportunities identified in Exhibit 2 and 3 of the precinct, revival of cocoa sector, sustainable practices, advise the board on how they can integrate sustainability practices into the proposed alliance to ensure broad reputation and market access. I look forward to receiving your draft report within 2 weeks. Best regards, your boss. Now, this is what we need to attend to. You could be lucky they could serve in your hands, but at least I have designed these requirements in such a way that there are things that are always there. Like this fourth requirement, they are always there. It's always there. This evaluation is always there. You have to evaluate a project. Whatever the project, you would need to calculate MPV, you need to calculate IRR, you might do sensitivity if you can. You cannot move on, right? Then go to analysis and do the rest. You would always need to do ratios and you will need to understand that sector so well. So why this is there for me is just to give you an insight into what this sector needs in terms of from government perspective, your ability to argue for them, your ability to understand what exactly the problems are, and specifically request for the government that this is what we need. It's a tool that it's something you need to know before you go into this exam. Know it very well. And it's well documented in this material that I'm going to share with you. Then Exhibit 7 gives us the draft financial statements for 2024 additionally. So what I've done is in most of the diet, they always give you another financial statement in the unseen, different from what they will have given us, right? And here I just added one more. I maintained the trajectory 2022, 2023, 2024. I saw that revenue was decreasing, it decreased further, right? Cost of sales has always been higher than revenue. Yeah, it's still higher than it. Then general and admin problem, finance costs still higher than admin and all that. So since they didn't give me income tax here, rather I put 0 here as well. So then But 2023 is just as it is in the unseen. But 2024, I upgraded it. Because of this problem that these guys are facing, I mean, they had fixed deposit investment before. They need money, now it's gone. Now it's gone. PP, of course, will reduce because of depreciation. Cash reducing to almost nothing. It's from 3.3 million now to 102,000. Total assets here. Now you see that they have a negative equity. I told you, if they continue with that trajectory, equity will become negative, and that is a going concern issue. That's a going concern issue for them because it's as good as you guys don't own your company anymore. The company is over. And this is one of the criteria. When you see CBN taking over banks, this is one of the reason negative equity. They will take them over immediately. Because by the time they submit all their ratios to CBN and they look at it and it's consistently in red, they will take over the bank. So non-current liabilities, we have all this present year on year. And so that's exhibit 7. So basically, what I'll be doing with this is more of I might do trend analysis, compute ratios. I don't want to spend all my time on appendix. No, I have 1 hour for that, and I don't want to spend more than 1 hour in the exam for that. So I will be very smart. I will not sit down and repeat like, okay, I've arrived. No, I compute specific ratios, do my MPV, do this, then I go to my report. I ensure it because time runs very fast. Before you know it, it's gone. An appendix will not make you pass. Doing all these calculations and observations will not make you pass. It gives you mass case, maybe 15 marks, right? You need those other analysis to really lift you up. Now, the additional information from the company. So the company sent additional information to my boss. So he said, Dear Thomas, further to our discussions, please find below additional information that should be considered when reviewing the draft 2024 financial statement and governance of cocoa. So I just came up with some issues. The chairman, I say, is the founder's son. The MD is the nephew of the chairman. The non-exec is the sister of the CEO. Johnson is this guy is the only qualified professional non-exec. This guy is, I mean, just to paint a picture that there are issues, and they also give us some observation that there was no independent directors. All directors are either family members or close associates. Family dominance, poor attendance. We're told that the chairman has missed last 3 board meetings. And also there is no audit committee. They don't even have any committee on this board. It's an issue. Audit matters are discussed directly with the full board, including non-independent members. So these are observations and also performance target. The same management bonuses are based on solely on sales volume target. No quality, safety, or sustainability metrics are included. So, which is why obviously they are having quality control issues. So, I mean, that's another note you might be given in the exam. Also, they gave us in the unseen internal audit findings, right? So internal audit conducted in December 2024 reviewed the following serious issues: quality control overrides. So laboratory tests on 15% of export batches showed pesticide residues above EU permitted limits. Management overrode quality control procedures for 2 large shipments, total value 42 million to meet delivery deadlines. So apparently, their quality control internally, their internal audit flagged this issue, but they ignored just because they want to meet a delivery deadline. Supplier kickbacks. A purchasing officer receiving 3.5 million in kickbacks from a supplier of low quality cocoa beans. The officer resigned in November 2024. No recovery actions has been taken. Okay, so our people are collecting kickbacks from our supplier. That's an ethical issue. Inventory theft. Fiscal count revealed inventory shortages of 8.5 million compared to books. Management suspect theft by warehouse staff, but no investigation has been conducted. This is also a governance issue within the organization. Documentation falsification. Some export document appears to have been altered to show organic certification that does not exist. The internal auditor has transferred this to the board, but no action has been taken. So apparently there are issues. They know they need certifications. So they are presenting fake certificates, right? Internal auditor have actually captured this. They're doing nothing about it. They are really doing not so much about it. So these are serious issues internally. PP, impairment indicator. So the processing plant was revalued upward in 2029, creating a revaluation reserve of 267 million, though that has passed. However, and that's because there is a revaluation reserve in their books. So the plant is now obsolete because they told us in the question that their plants are outdated. And that is an indicator, that's according to IS 36, that's an indication of impairment. Okay, so that's why impairment is coming out. I think it's showing in their books also. So the plan is now obsolete and frequently breaks down, averaging 12 breaks down per month. So a technical assessment commission in January 2026 indicates that the plant's current recoverable amount is approximately 350 million. So recoverable amount is 350. And the carrying amount in the books is 498 million. So they give us the impairment, that there's an impairment of 148 million that may be required. Also, inventory obsolescence. Yes, because in the case, you remember that they have rejection, high level of inventories. So definitely some inventories might become obsolete. So approximately 18.5 million. So consist of cocoa beans that have been in storage for over 18 months. These beans are now moldy, they have lost quality, and cannot be processed or sold. So, and they have not written it down in the books. So we need to write it down. Receivables also, because their people are not paying. They say customers are not paying. So they need to do impairment of receivables. They need to write down some receivables. They need to make allowance for receivables. And they have not made any provisions yet. So we need to make that provision. Contingent liabilities, there's a lawsuit ongoing, worth 25 million. They said it's probable. So it might not be, we might have to make provisions for that. EU importer, they are also claiming some funds. 324 million is probable. They have not provided. We need to provide for that as well also. So these are notes we are being given here. Yeah, for sure. If it's urgent, yeah, go ahead. If it's not, let me finish.
Yes, sir, it's about what you just said. So these things that you just showed us now, will we like effect the changes, the correction or the adjustment in the financial statement before calculating our ratios? Or it will
Yes,
not
so
just affect our ratios?
to affect your ratio, so
Oh,
you
thank you,
have
sir.
to, yes, if they give you anything like this, you have to prepare an updated financial statement.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you, don't worry. So another one is bank covenant breach. Okay, so the loan with UBA, okay, requires that their current ratio is not less than 1. Debt to equity ratio is not more than 2. But apparently, their current ratio is 0.12. Debt to equity ratio is negative. So they have already breached current ratio. And they have not even notified the bank. The bank will know anyway. So the company risk having its loan called, or they would place them on default register. So that's a major issue for them. Then staff morale and key resignation. So due to delayed salaries, 2 months outstanding as at December 2024. So they're owing salaries. 3 senior production staff resigned. Key people, production. Quality control manager has submitted resignation. Quality control. Imagine people that are having issues with quality. They're not paying their people. Morale among remaining staff is described by HR as very low. This is a serious organizational issues. These are governance issues. These are ethical issues that has to be flagged at that level. Now, Exhibit 9 talks about the proposed strategic alliance with Irochukwu International. So the board has approved management's proposal to enter into strategic alliance with Irochukwu International, a medium-sized chocolate manufacturer based in Belgium. So I am exploring that strategic alliance and I'm exploring international partnership. Okay. So, and it's partnership I'm recommending. One of you mentioned it already. You guys mentioned it already. So the alliance aimed to move up the value chain to produce branded chocolate products. Somebody flagged this. There was one of you that flagged this that said I should go to a paragraph, and I was very impressed because I totally agree with her. That's something you would find, which is why I went for this option anyway. Because they would definitely ask you that, okay, they want to produce chocolate. And a lot of you mentioned this. So I think we're in sync. We're thinking in the same direction. I've trained you guys very well. So they said improved quality control to meet EU standards. Yes, a lot of you mentioned this. Several of you agree with this, that they need to improve their quality to meet, and this partnership can help them to do that. Then access Irochoko's global distribution network. So why I actually went for this option is the fact that most of the issues they mentioned can be solved with partnerships. So the probability of them asking you this one is higher than that of backward integration. It's higher. That one is good, but where will they get the money? You want to do backward? Bring the money now. You want to borrow from the bank? Yes, you can raise domestic investments. Yes, you can raise domestic investments, no doubt. But I will explore, I'll teach you, we'll look at that also and see how we can navigate and solve problems on that. So the terms of the alliance is that investment by Irochukwu. So the guy is going to bring in 2 million. This is fresh FDI. So, and this 2 million is approximately 1.2 billion. I'm using an exchange rate of 600 naira to euro. Yeah. So 200,000 to 600 naira to 1 euro. And I know this is not realistic, but you can, whatever exchange rate you're given, we need naira value. So for 40% equity stake in new subsidiary, Sadeco Choco Limited. So what's happening is that they are establishing a subsidiary. So, it's a partnership. So this investment is not coming to us. It's not like they are giving Sadeco money. They are establishing a new company. Because remember, our reputation in the country is not so good. So they will not just hand money to you. I take 2 million pounds. They would misappropriate it. So what they are doing is they are establishing a subsidiary that will be jointly owned by this company and us, Sadeco. So they call the company Sadeco Shoko. So this Sadeco Shoko would be in charge of manufacturing of chocolate. So the international company is going to have 40% in the company. Okay. So second one is technology transfer. So Irochoko will supply modern chocolate manufacturing machinery. So Irochoko will also bring in, I'm talking about this international company, will also bring in manufacturing machinery. Okay, and that's valued at 1.5 million pounds. Again, they are not giving that to us, it's going to that Sadeco. And also they will provide technical expertise for 3 years. These are everything all the problems that these guys are facing. This is like a solution to that. So these guys are bringing in all that. So now, what are we going to contribute? I mean, SCPL, the Nigerian company. Number one, they have an existing processing facility already. So they have a dedicated space. They have a space that they can use. They have workforce. They have people. They have raw cocoa supply chains already. They have it already. So how will they share profits? So since they told us that the partner abroad has 40%, that means Sadeco will take 60%, the Euroshoko will take 40%, but we're going to be giving management fees of 5% of revenue to Euroshoko. He's going to get 5% of revenue, and also he will get royalty. We're also giving him 3% of revenue, okay, because we're going to be using his brand name, Euroshoko by Sadeco, okay. So duration is a 10-year agreement, is renewable, and okay, it's going to give us working capital advance. So this one is coming to us now. So Euroshoko will provide 500,000 pounds, which is equivalent to 300 million naira, as working capital advance. We're going to repay it over 5 years. So it's a working capital advance that we need to repay. So they will give you financial, so about the projects. It might not be this precisely, but they will definitely give you information about income, estimated costs, and all that. They will definitely give you all that. So I have revenue. So I did a 5-year projection. Year 1, 800. Year 2 to 5, 1.2 billion per year. Material, labor, overhead, gross profit, admin, and all that. So the guy is going to get management fees, 5% of revenue, royalty, 3% of revenue. At the end of the day, we are making profit. Then this profit we're going to share it 60 to 40. 60, we are getting 60, they will get 40. Now, I'm bringing up this because with this partnership, this proposed alliance will require SCPL, that is the Nigerian company, to redirect 40% of its current cocoa bean supply to chocolate production. You know, he already does some production too. He's a processing company too. So if part of his own contribution is the raw materials, the cocoa beans he says he has, that means his current production will suffer. So now the examiner is telling you that you need to redirect 40% of his current cocoa beans to that chocolate production. 40% of it. And with that, they will be losing contribution of 150 million naira annually. So because this is the cost, I mean, this is a cost for the company. If when we are appraising this project, it's an opportunity cost. Because this alliance is going to cannibalize existing contribution. To cannibalize it, it will reduce the sales of existing contribution. It will reduce existing, that's cannibalism. That's what cannibalize means. So in that wise, I mean, the way I've structured these things, these are terminologies they have used in the previous unseen. I'm so tailored into how they have always set their questions, just so that we're not far from reality. So 150 million, this is the issue that might, I mean, you cannot forget to include this. Also, capital investment required from SCPL. You will also need to bring in some money. You will need to modify his factory. You will need to bring up some working capital. You will need to train itself. You will need to get certification, that ISO 22000 and other certification. So even for this to work, you need 340 million. So the working capital advance from that foreign partner is separate from the working capital here. There are different working capital. So you also need to bring in money. Now, the board of SCPL is expecting a minimum IRR of 20% in the first 5 years. Like that. Exhibit 10, letters from European Union importer. Okay, I talked about this, and in your case in the exam, it might be letter from NAFDAC, could be letter from, but letter is coming. You see it then in your exam. So because of the infractions happening in their production quality, so letter is definitely going to come from a regulator, which are ethical and governance issues. That's what that will speak to. But I made this more comprehensive though. So rejection of shipment. It says, dear sir, we write to formally notify you of the rejection of shipments SCPL 2409 comprising 500 metric tons of cocoa butter delivered to our warehouse in Antwerp on February 28, 2026. Reasons for rejection. Laboratory analysis conducted by an independent EU accredited laboratory revealed the presence of pesticide residues, chlorpyrifos, and this exceeding EU maximum residual limits by 300% to 450%. Copies of the laboratory report are attached. Consequences. The shipment has been quarantined and cannot be released for sale in EU market. You're unable to accept delivery of this shipment and are returning it to you at your cost. So claims. So they are claiming damages. Cost of shipment. We are paying it. We will need to pay to them. Storage and quarantine costs. We're going to pay that. Loss of profit on onward sales. We're going to pay that. So there's a loss of profit too. There's a freight and custom charges. Need to non-refundable. Then the total claim, they are claiming a total of 224 million. This is an additional cost for us. Further actions, we have notified the EU Food Safety Authority of this incident. Your company may be placed on a watch list and future shipments may be subject to 100% inspection at your cost for a period of up to 24 months. We request that you confirm within 14 days how you intend to settle the above claim. Provide a corrective action plan demonstrating how future shipments will comply with EU MRLs. Indicate whether you have obtained or are in the process of obtaining relevant certifications. So these are things we are going to speak to for this. Failure to respond satisfactorily will result in legal proceedings, notification to other EU customers, and a formal complaint to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Yours faithfully, this, that, and all that. And that's it for your unseen. So hopefully your unseen will not be far from it. And whatever knowledge you are gaining here would definitely be extremely important. Of course, you know that this is the only thing you're going to be studying now for your exam as far as case study is concerned, this report. And if you have anything to also add that you can research on, you can also research. And if there's anything you want me to include before the next class, you can also chat that up with me so that we can write that as well. Yeah, so Chimamanda, yeah, is going to be, I say Chimamanda. If, yeah, you see how I'm going to write it. It's going to be a part of the report. So, and the way I structured my report, I structure it in a realistic, exam-friendly way. In a way that is something you can write in exam. The way you write it in exam is how I've structured my report. So, because I structure my reports in such a way that it follows requirements. I didn't get thrown away in structure. I focused on requirements because that's what will make you pass what the examiner is looking for. Yes, I will have my cover from to whatever. That one is not a problem. It's always be from to date subjects. I will not start bothering myself about is this internal report? Is this it's from to subjects dates. Move on. And do the main thing. So do the cover, then work out my appendix. That's the second thing I'm doing. My appendix is done. I immediately I will write main reports. Then I'll write requirement one, advocacy paper. I'll write it. When I'm done with that, I put requirement two, review of financial statements. I write it. Requirement three. That's how I structured my report. So, which is realistically what will work for you in the exam. So, having seen the unseen, of course, the first thing you should write in the exam is your report header. That's just start with that. To the board of directors, Sadeco Cocoa Processing Limited, from you, dates, whatever date you're writing the exam, subject, advisory report on financial performance, strategic alliance, governance, and sustainability. So I just picked the main points in everything they want me to do. That became my subject. So I know that second structure in your report is executive summary. I'm going to write it last. And this is going to summarize key findings, conclusions, and recommendations from all the 4 requirements. That is what you will find in my executive summary. Then I move to section B, which is the requirement 1 that talks about advocacy paper extract. So this is how I will structure it. I will write while I'm writing the advocacy paper, which is I want to solicit for government expansion of this industry, of their policies to this industry. I might give some reference to the preceding and all of that, the challenges. I will put forth key arguments for government support. The fact that historically it's important, economic diversification, job creation, value addition, foreign exchange earnings, right? I would put forward those arguments. That's what I'm saying, that this part of the question that I gave you is important because you will need it in, even if they don't bring it like this, you will need it in, you will definitely need it. So you need to sit down and read this one. Whether they ask it or not, you will need it. You will need the argument for government support. Then I will speak about the policy incentives because that's what the question is about. So talking about tax holidays, low interest loan. Yes, low interest. If they can give us single digit. I think Pelumi mentioned that BOI used to do that. If the government can give, I will ask whether they do it or not is another thing. So export expansion grants. So they should give us grant for export. Also, probably maybe they can reimburse some portion of export proceeds to us. Infrastructure investments, we ask for them to invest in infrastructure. Duty waivers also on import processing equipment, on imported processing equipment. They should give us subsidies on certifications, all these international certifications. Also, I'll talk about government procurement preference, that the government, when they need to buy anything relating to what we do in our industry, they should source it locally. Like what Anambra State government is doing for their indigenous car producing company, that they can use that to help them boost their sales. So we'll put all that in the advocacy paper. Then we'll conclude telling them that this guy has potential and will recommend what the incentive will do. And we finally request that they should review some policy and implement it at the same time. So that's how I'm going to answer that part. Then the part of reviewing, you might not necessarily do all of this you don't have to do this in the exam. I'm just using this to teach you So, to review, so I will do the adjustment, those additional information. I will need to adjust it, right? Then majorly, because I have so much time, because I'm not in the exam, I might do ratios before adjustment and ratio after adjustment. You might just adjust and do your ratio after adjustment, okay? Because you don't have so much time at your hands. And so the key ratios, profitability, liquidity, I've already identified, like you see, profitability, I'm only doing 3 ratios. You can look for more. Liquidity, another 3. Solvency, maybe few. Then that's it. Then material adjustments, identify the adjustments that needs to be made. They talked about impairments, obsolete inventory, provisions that need to be made for allowance for receivables, and also those provisions for those lawsuits, and also the EU that are claiming some money from us. So these are adjustments that we need to make in the accounts for us. So and that is going to affect a lot of things, ratios and the rest. So requirement 3, which is requirement evaluating the proposed alliance, evaluation of the proposed alliance. So this would speak to all the points the board are looking at a 5 years to recover their money. IRR 20%, exchange rates, displaced effect, we are getting 60%. And I'll do all of these calculations and all that. So I'm just showing you how I'm going to answer this question. And I intentionally put this here so that when you want to do your revision, you don't have to go through the whole report. You can just use this to do quick revision of the main points in the report, what you need to have in your mind. That is what I did for you here. It's just a summary of my report, exactly what I need to do, so that when you have read this, you have to read it again, over and over again. So that's the unseen, and that's the plan for the solution. Now, this report is just a simple 20-page report. I'm not sure you'll be able to write up to 20 pages in the exam, but substantially, your work is going to be lengthy. So first, you're going to start with the appendices. They are not far from what you all have predicted. They are not far. Ratios, NPV, and I did some sensitivity. Then I went to my main report. Somebody was asking, how are we going to include? So look at the way I did it. Main reports. I do requirement 1. And this is how I wrote this report as if I'm in the exam. How I'm going to write. For my workings, it flows straight to requirement 1. So you see the way I subheading it. I start with introduction. For my introduction, I move to arguing my argument for. I start with the historical context, where these guys are coming from. Justification for government support. Look at appropriate subheadings. I'm not just, you can't just be writing everything. Appropriate headings, main headings, subheadings. So my requirement 1.1, introduction, 1.2. That's the structure we want. That's when we say report structure, this is what we are talking about. Then I justified it. I just brought in some points. 1.4, specific policy incentives. Brought in some points as well. Then addressing the current barriers, what we are expecting, conclusions and call for actions. I'm done. I went to requirement 2. Put it there, requirement 2. Review of financial statements. So here I want to analyze the ratios I've computed. So I did 2.1, 2.2. Then I always do my conclusion on each major ratio. 2.3 talks about liquidity ratios. I analyze liquidity, then efficiency. Then I did solvency. I analyzed that also. These are the ratios I computed. Then my recommendations in this part. You see the way I'm walking it through. In every requirement, I'm doing conclusion and recommendations straight up. Requirement 3, the strategic alliance. I also properly subordinate introduction. I spoke to a lot of calculation that I did, explain it to them, make conclusions, make recommendations, spoke about all of that, my recommendation. And I went to requirement 4, the governance, ethics, and sustainability issue. I evaluated their governance structure, why this structure cannot support what they want to do, adjustments that they need to make, right? Then I spoke about ethical issues. I identified all of them, made recommendations, made recommendations for them. I identified all the ethical issues. Yeah, quite a lot. Then sustainability, how they can be sustainable. Mention few points for them there. Then at the end of the day, I mentioned some key findings, then recommendations on for governance and ethics. And finally, executive summary. I write this one last, and I really want to get to this point of my executive summary because this takes 20 marks in the exam. This takes 20 marks in the exam. So I properly, carefully do it. And the way I do it is, again, I'm being realistic, right? I'm not doing it as if I'm outside of the exam. So my key findings will be most likely a repetition of what I've done in major areas. So in my which is why it's not something you write first. It's not possible because it's what you have written so far that you're just summarizing. So I pick my requirement 1, I pick the main point that I wrote there. My requirement 2, my main findings, conclusions, and all that. My requirement 3, the same. My requirement 4, the same. Then overall conclusions and recommendations, right? So at the end of the day, my recommendations were segmented into timelines on how they should implement them and all that. Then I made a final statement that I mentioned like that. So that's how my report is structured. I'm going to share this with you for you to look at it. I'll give you opportunity to look at it. Then when we meet next week, Sunday, you should have looked at it. We would discuss it. We should be able to puncture these reports. I need you to come. I don't want to teach you this report. I want you to, because these are not new things, ratios and all that. I need you to puncture these reports. You can send to me what other things we need to look at. Well, after we have punctured this report, then we'll also look at that backward integration. Also, we are not writing a whole report for that. It's just a portion of this report. This report remains. We just look at, okay, in case it's backward integration, this is how we should go about it. These are the calculations. This is how you write the part of that report and all that. You see, for me, when I study something, which is why I'm really impressed with you guys today. You guys are ready for this exam. When I read, the only way I know that I've read is if I can criticize what I've read. That they're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do that. They did not do this. They did not do that. If you can criticize it, it means you understand what you've read, which is exactly what I need you guys to do. So, which is a different approach from what I've always done in prior diet. Prior diet will just be talking, which does not really resonate. Eventually, people will still go and read it and understand it in their way. So, next week, Sunday, the same time, we are going to be doing a critical analysis of these reports and would improve it together. And if it's perfect, we would say it's perfect together. But I bet you, is your own criticism, your own addition, those are the first things you're going to remember in the exam. So I would rest my case here. And also, Mr. Ali is going to be speaking to us like maybe 30 minutes. It won't be a long discussion. He will speak to you guys about some key models. Not, he won't be teaching you models, eh? He will just practicalize based on this unseen you have established, based on the present. He would, based on the strategic direction of the company, he will tell you what options are available to them based on models, what they should do based on models. So he'll be speaking to you guys also for 30 minutes. That would also help you. But first, please, let's do our homework. Let's review this and let's come back with criticism. And that would surely mean that we are definitely ready for this exam. And in the meantime, I would expect a comment from you. If there's anything you need me to add, even before that you want us to consider, even before we come even before we come on Monday, if there's anything you need me to work on, because I also need time. These things takes time to work on. I had to since when this came out, I had to suspend every other thing. It took me 2 full days. The whole of today, I had class with other guys, SBL intensive class in the morning. So the whole day Thursday, the whole day Friday, this was a whole project that has to be carefully worked on just so that you can have this. So between now and Wednesday, if there's anything you need me to work on, which I will also assess and see that, okay, this makes sense, that this might likely come out, let us know so that I can also come up with a report for you on that so that you can also read that and it will definitely help you with your exam. So my final words for you is that you have what you need to pass this exam, and that's the aim. Don't fail. Don't fail. I need an 100% pass rate. We are going to collectively improve this. Don't go and start doing something else. This is not the time when you want to, focus on what we have given you. Focus on how you can improve it. Focus on what you also need to add to it. Then with that, then I can't see an outcome different from passing. And it's just 50 marks. Don't forget, just 50 to pass. So I'm going to rest my case here. So any questions, anything that you want me to know before we meet? Yeah, Mr. Utman.
Yes, sir. I was just saying that in addition to everything you have put down, which is very brilliant, I was just saying that we raised a lot of efficiency issues on this case. So we do not anticipate, we should not look at maybe things like material and efficiency variances. That perspective, are we ruling it? Can we rule it out?
Yes, I will rule that out. I'm going to rule that out. I'm going to rule that out
Oh,
because it's not a key issue for us in regards to the problems this company have, in regards to the problem this company is facing and all that. So it's not something I want to double into. It might not be so much fruitful for us at the end of the day if we do that. Right. Okay, Chimamaka.
Yes, sir. Thank you for today.
You're
Um,
welcome.
in regards to the models, is it just something that we should know in order to know how to write reports, or is it something that we're going to go there and use, let's say, a model of our choice, whether it's Excel or Answer, whatever, to actually like analyze the business and put it to report, unless they ask us, or it's something we should do anyways, like the ethics, even though they don't ask you, you still do it. So is
No,
that
they have to
something
ask
that,
you that. They need to ask you. If they don't ask you, don't do it.
okay, for like a
Yeah.
particular model? Okay.
No, no, don't do it if they don't ask. And I'm speaking from the marking scheme of the examiner in recent diets. And the diet they want you to do, I think the diet they really want you to do, they will tell you using Ansoff matrix, advise the company on using this like that. And you see, even in the pre-scene, they already gave you SWOT analysis and all that. So if they don't ask you specifically, don't dabble into that.
Okay. Okay. Another question, sorry. Um, for the executive summary, I don't know if you have ever been a marker before. Is this something that they first read before they read rest of your work?
Yes, that's the first thing they will read. That's the
Okay.
first place the examiner will go to. It's 20 marks. That's the first thing they would read.
So it's
So which
not,
is why
they won't necessarily read the whole report.
they will read the whole report. They will read the whole report. But what directs them? If you don't do executive summary, I don't see that student will not pass. It's difficult for a student to pass. One of my students then did so well. Said there was no time. You could not do the executive summary. She didn't pass. You can't pass. So they will not read the report in detail like you expect, like that. What shows them you know what you're doing is your executive summary. It's 20 marks because it makes the life of the guy easy, which is why I segmented it the way I've segmented it based on the each requirement. So he looks at your executive summary, he looks at your calculations, your appendix, he looks at that. Then he moves to your body of reports. The guy from your executive summary is pointing to, he just confirms your analysis, how you're speaking to the issues, right? That's why your in each requirement, your subheadings is key. Your subheadings is very key. And that's how the guy just looks at your main points. It takes it for you like that on each of requirements. So you might not in-depthly start reading everything word for word. So from your executive summary to your appendix, so how you have structured your reports, and they will see how your analysis, how you're relating it to the case, how you're analyzing, maybe they're having a negative ratio, you're able to identify why from the case, and you're able to recommend what they should do. So they go on there and give you, the guy just picks it. So when you look at this report, you see the trend at which I have done my analysis and all that. Is contextualized into the scheme of what the question is talking about. Yeah. Shimamaka, is that okay for you?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah,
Hello,
first it
sir.
on.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, first it on first.
Yes, sir. Sorry to bring us back, but it's still about that um
A deposit for shares.
deposit for shares. Yes, I still don't really get it in full.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
just like share capital, just like share capital. So it's
Okay.
just when companies raise money, it's just like you starting a business. You have a share capital of 1 million and you have registered 1 million with CSA. So let's say you need more money. So you introduce additional 5 million. We usually put that in deposit for shares. And why they call it deposit for shares is that you are bringing it to buy more shares in the company, but you have not registered that share with CSA. So it sits down in that account, deposit for shares.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
you're welcome. Moses,
Yeah, sir, sorry to ask you this. Since this a report, is there anything like cover page before you start your executive summary?
I think, are you talking about this, what we have here?
Yes.
What is
Just
it
go to
again?
where?
Are you talking about this one?
Exactly. This one. Is it possible to use this one as cover page first before we start our executive summary? Or we just put everything on the same page, sir?
You can just start with this. Let this be the first thing that is in your answer sheet in the exam.
Okay. Okay.
Then you move on to your appendix, to your main body, to your executive summary.
Okay.
If you wish, you can even do this again in your executive summary. In your executive summary, you can give them that again, because that is the first place the guy will go to when he's marking your exam. You start executive summary in a fresh page.
Okay. But sir, after this, is there anything for us to put disclaimer? Because we are writing management reports sometimes, we put disclaimer and the rest of them. Is there any need to put a disclaimer?
Why not? If you want to, you can. It's something you can do if you remember
Okay.
to put it. Yes, you can.
All right. All right. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good one, Moses. Yetunde, yeah, up to you.
Sir, the only issue that I have here is that ratio. Because you stated different ratios. Is it that all the ratios that you stated is what you are going to do in the exam?
Not
That's the only issue.
necessarily. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So you do ratios that you are comfortable with seriously, because
Must I
but
do plenty?
Igwemo. So but
Must I
basically,
do plenty? Thought I'm-
must you do what? I didn't hear that.
Must I do a lot of ratios like the solvency? Like what you stated is a lot. So that I'm trying to know whether I
No,
have
no,
to do
no,
the
you
exact
don't
one.
have to. No, you really do not have to. So there are primary ones that are key. Profitability is key, liquidity is key, solvency is key. Profitability, liquidity, solvency. So at minimum 2, 2, 2. I will recommend at least in all, if you can do 10 ratios, that will be perfect, because that will have taken care of even efficiency. So in all, be ready to do at least 10 in all. Don't do more than that, because that will help you speak to a lot of issues. And most of the profitability ratios, they are mostly the same, speaking to the same thing. You will see gross profit margin, all of that is pointing to whether a company is profitable or not. Debt ratio. So you really don't have to compute many of them that are speaking to the same thing. Yeah. Olawale?
Good evening, sir.
Hi, good
Hello,
evening.
sir. Yeah, well done, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, please, I don't need an interpretation of if we have negative ratio. How do we interpret it?
Company is definitely bad. As you're going to say, this company here is having negative equity. So
Okay.
and is making losses. It's
Yeah,
making
yeah.
losses. So you will see that its profitability ratios are terrible. I would mention it clearly that it's not performing well. It's not
Okay.
performing well. And its negative equity, in fact, I didn't even have to compute any debt ratio because there was no need. Because it has negative equity. It's clear that his debt ratio is bad. So the interpretations are quite straightforward in terms of profitability, and whatever it is that is negative
Okay.
is definitely shows that the company is going south in terms of profitability and liquidity, and even
Oh,
ability to continue as a business.
thank you, sir. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the insight. let's keep preparing for these exams.
Hello, sir.
And yes, Obafemi.
Yeah, please, are you dropping this note for us now?
Oh, definitely. I'm dropping it on your
Okay, sir.
respective books. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And I'll upload the video as well.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. I will do that.
Don't forget the video on YouTube too, so we can watch while we are reviewing.
Okay, no problem. I will drop that as well. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. More strength.
Bye.
Man.
Oh.